Welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and other worldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the Locados on Rocky Mountain High, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess with the mostest, TessaTNT, broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It is an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to have you hanging out with me on the airwaves tonight. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, you can listen to me on Spreaker.com and wherever else you may be listening to your broadcast or podcast, and you should be able to find me there. All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I was going to go through our top 26 as far as the month of July so far. Downloads, as a lot of places aren't live for Spreaker, but these are the downloads for Spreaker. I really miss that Spreaker did have live format before, when I was able to talk to my listeners, but now it's virtually impossible. Alright, number 1, USA, number 2, Australia, number 3, Brazil, number 4, UK, number 5, India, number 6, Vietnam, 7, United Arab Emirates, 8, Switzerland, 9, Germany, 10, Morocco, 11, Namibia, 12, Pakistan, 13, Taiwan, 14, Venezuela, 15, Argentina, 16, Bangladesh, 17, Bolivia, 18, Congo Republic, 19, Ecuador, 20, Spain, 21 is France, 22, Israel, 23, Jordan, 24, Japan, 25, Kyrgyzstan, 26 others. So, could it be our alien brethren from space being number 26, out of this world? Also, I took a screenshot of last week's top 4 in the house. So our top 4 for the week of July 19th to July 25th. Our stats are up by 2. Woohoo! Hey, I'll take it. I love it when I see the green arrow. Green arrow is most important. Alright, top 4 countries. Number 1, Brazil. Number 2, the United States. Number 3, Germany. And number 4, the UK. Thank you guys so much for being our top 4. And thank all of you out there for being my top 25. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. It really means a lot. It really does. So I figured tonight for story time we might cover some world news. I want to say quickly, but who knows? This could take a while. But yeah, not too long, because I do want to get back into our book, Out There Screaming. It's been really good so far. Okay, so Macron calls crisis meeting as wildfires threaten Bordeaux and heat wave looms. As far as the heat wave goes, I've been seeing that in Europe, it's basically hottest. Not hottest out of the whole world, but like as far as heat wave, heat change, over the last 10 years, it's been going up quite a bit. So, the BBC is wanting to charge me about $9 for a subscription. I'm not. So we'll just go through the latest updates as far as the title goes, where it's at, what the main direction or directive is. So Macron calls crisis meeting as wildfires threaten Bordeaux and heat wave looms. Blazes are about 15 kilometers from Bordeaux, but the city mayor says there are no plans to evacuate. Scaffolding is ripped from a Hong Kong building as Typhoon Noel makes landfall. And Typhoon Noel is the strongest to make landfall in China so far this year, according to state media. The Indian Army's first woman boxer is now chasing Commonwealth gold. You go, girl! World champion Jasmine Laboria targets Commonwealth gold in Glasgow Games. Investigation after man's body found in recycle center. The body of the 35-year-old Andrew Hare was discovered in Clondalkin, West Dublin last Friday. Wow, well, that's a new form of recycling, wouldn't you say? Israeli settlers set fire to mosques, cars, and farmland in West Bank, Palestinians say. And I watched the video. I saw 3 guys running around, hitting places one by one, and setting fire as well as tagging, writing on the side of the building. The latest attacks come 2 days after a clash between settlers and Palestinians near village of Tal, which left 4 Palestinians and 2 Israelis dead. BBC speaks to Palestinians targeted by Israeli settlers. Israeli settlers set fire to 2 mosques as well as cars and agricultural land in the occupied West Bank, Palestinian officials say. What we know so far about the Berlin Pride ramming attack: the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz commends the attack as heinous after a suspect drove a car into a crowd near Tiergarten Park. And this fellow is no longer with us. He was dealt with promptly. He had been known by the police community for quite some time as a radicalist. And let's see. He was shot. The Berlin Pride attack suspect shot and killed during police operation. Police say that Abdul Balaut was shot and killed after he rushed at officers with a knife in western borough of Berlin. Firefighters battle wildfires. Tens of thousands evacuate near Bordeaux. More than 330,000 people have now been evacuated from wildfires across France and Spain. Pentagon lists 4 killed in Iran war under overseas operations casualties. This one is by Eleanor Watson. The Pentagon website that informs the public about the dead and wounded in military conflicts now lists 4 service members killed in Jordan and Iraq in July under overseas operations casualties, separate from 14 other service members who have been killed during the war with Iran. The other 14 appear in the database as casualties of Operation Epic Fury, the Defense Department's name for the conflict. At one point last week, the 4 service members' deaths also appeared on that list, but by last Thursday, their names no longer appeared there, and the database said that 14 were killed in the war with Iran, as opposed to 18. The New York Times first reported the database's missing numbers and cited 3 sources who said it was because the 4 service members who were most recently killed died after the Trump administration had declared a ceasefire in April. Give me a break. But the 4 service members were killed about a week after President Trump notified Congress by letter that the ceasefire was over and military action had resumed on July 7th. The 4 who died are First Lieutenant Tyler James Freehan, Sergeant Angel S. Rampersad, Private Isabella Gonzalez, and Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton. Sean Parnell, the chief Pentagon spokesperson, in a statement shared on X last Thursday, blamed site errors on the defense casualty analysis system on a temporary data disruption and said the site anomalies are currently being resolved in coordination with the military services. Parnell, in his statement, slammed the New York Times for colluding with anonymous sources to push a completely fake story. Yeah, if he doesn't like it, it's fake. When the Pentagon first released the names of 2 of the 3 killed in an Iranian attack in Jordan earlier this month, it initially classified them as deaths under Operation Inherent Resolve, the name for the years-long mission targeting ISIS. Later, the Defense Department amended the releases to say the service members had died in overseas operations. Throughout the war with Iran, the Pentagon has been slow to provide information about injuries after the New York Times reported earlier this week that dozens of troops had been injured in attacks in the Middle East. The Pentagon initially referred reporters with questions on the wounded to the website, even though it had not been updated in several days and did not account for recent deaths. Defense officials have not briefed reporters on the Iran war since May, and they have not commented on the categorization of the deaths of the 4 service members. CBS News first reported, and Parnell confirmed, that nearly 100 U.S. service members had been injured since July 7th. In a statement on X, he said that among those injured, 96% had returned to duty, and the vast majority of injuries experienced were minor concussions, and boys and girls, concussions are pretty serious. Minor concussions can often be traumatic brain injuries that vary in severity and can display symptoms sometime after the initial injury. It can even be like a lifelong injury that affects you for the rest of your life and can cause some really bad issues. He concluded by saying that further updates will be posted on the Defense Casualty Analysis System. As of Sunday, the site said 417 service members have been wounded in the war with Iran, which is dozens fewer than the 482 it listed early last week. Now, 207 service members are listed as having been wounded in overseas operations. Berlin Pride attack suspect dies in police confrontation after day-long manhunt. Story by T. Michelle Murphy. Authorities shot and killed the suspect believed to be responsible for a deadly attack at Berlin Pride on Saturday, according to police. The suspect, identified Sunday as Abdul Balaut, allegedly plowed a vehicle into a crowd of revelers, leaving 1 woman dead and at least 29 injured. Officials have said that the attack was likely motivated by Islamist extremism. According to the current findings, he is said to have rushed toward our emergency forces with a stabbing weapon, after which police firearms were used. The Berlin police said in a post on X confirming that the confrontation occurred at approximately 6 p.m. local time Sunday. It went on to say that resuscitation efforts at the scene proved unsuccessful. Suspect believed responsible for deadly attack on Berlin Pride. The confrontation followed a nearly day-long manhunt. Alexander Dahlbrut, the German Interior Minister, said at a press conference on Sunday that large-scale search operations spanned train stations, airports, and the borders as officials searched for the man seen fleeing the scene following the previous evening's deadly attack. The incident occurred around 10 p.m. local time, promptly ending the remainder of the scheduled events for the nation's annual Christopher Street Day celebration. The LGBTQ+ event, also referred to as Berlin Pride, is named for New York City Street that hosted the 1969 Stonewall riots, widely credited for launching the modern gay rights movement. The festivities included a concert on Saturday evening near Tiergarten, a large park in the center of the city. As hundreds of thousands gathered, a white minivan plowed through a side street adjacent to the park, striking pedestrians before crashing into a tree. The driver exited the vehicle and may have continued his assault on foot before fleeing the scene. Authorities believe he wielded a stabbing instrument due to the nature of the injuries sustained by several passerbys after the suspect exited the van. I'm going to pause there. From what I have heard, it was not only just a knife he was stabbing with, but he also had a machete, and that both of those are pretty damn scary. Everything we are seeing here indicates an Islamist terror attack, Dobrindt said early Sunday. A Berlin police spokesperson told reporters in the immediate aftermath of the attack that there had been coordinated security measures in place for the Pride event. We meticulously prepared this event together with the organizer. We have an incredible number of personnel deployed, he said, noting that extensive access barriers had been set up to prevent vehicles from entering the event grounds. A Berlin Fire Service spokesperson told media outlets at the scene that at least 11 victims suffered life-threatening or serious injuries. None of the victims have been publicly identified. Berlin is the city of freedom, and our freedom has been attacked in the most horrific way today, Berlin Mayor Kai Wegner said in a statement Sunday, while promising that authorities were responding to the suspected terror attack with utmost urgency. Later that evening, Wegner confirmed to German broadcaster RBB that the suspect had been apprehended. The fact that the Berlin police have the suspect within 24 hours is a major success for the investigation, authorities said. Who is Abdul Balt? Police on Saturday released a photo of the suspect, who was originally identified only by his first name and last initial, in compliance with German privacy laws. Abdul B. was described as a 21-year-old German-born citizen. Police described him as having a slim build with black hair and standing approximately 1.9 meters tall, 6'2". He was last seen wearing a black hoodie with white pants, per the police report. Dobrindt said on Sunday that the suspect has in the past come to the attention of authorities. He has committed various crimes. He has been radicalized in the past. He belongs to Islamist scene, Dobrindt continued. The Berlin Public Prosecutor's Office released additional details Sunday evening upon taking over the investigations. It said that Ballout had been found guilty of assaulting a victim in a schoolyard in 2019 and of robbing an individual along with an accomplice in 2020. He was then convicted of assault and robbery in juvenile court in 2022. Ballout allegedly developed the desire to join the armed struggle of ISIS. In 2025, the press release continued. He traveled to Lebanon and allegedly attempted to contact ISIS there, it said, but was arrested and sentenced to 3 months imprisonment for incitement to religious and sectarian conflict. According to prosecutors, he returned to Germany after his release and was placed under arrest. The court had found it proven that he had published Islamic State propaganda on his Instagram account in 2024. In May 2026, he was sentenced to 22 months in prison. The court considered suspending the sentence because of the time he had already spent in pre-trial detention and in prison in Lebanon. He was released under probation supervision while a final decision on the suspension was delayed for 6 months. The public prosecutor's office had requested a longer, non-probationary sentence for the juvenile and the continuation of the arrest warrant. Its press release on Sunday evening said. Police searched his address on July 3rd upon suspicion of a Weapons Act violation, but only discovered a toy gun, so the case was subsequently dismissed, the statement continued. The same residence was searched following the Berlin Pride attack early Sunday, but the suspect was not on the premises. is the attack part of a larger pattern of extremist terrorism in Germany? The threat level in Germany remained at its recently declared high threat level on Sunday. It was established after intelligence pointed toward potential attack plans, according to Interior Ministry. Investigators had not determined whether Ballout acted alone as of Sunday evening. Police said that they had not ruled out additional suspects. According to the current state of the investigation, there is at least one suspect, the Berlin Police Department posted while seeking public assistance. Dobrindt also commented on Sunday, "We cannot rule out the possibility that further terror attacks and such terrible acts might take place." The heightened threat level aligns with assessments published in the June 30 publication of the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz annual report on the protection of the Constitution, which states that the threat posed by Islamist terrorism in Germany remains high. The report is part of a greater effort by the intelligence organization to raise awareness about the level of threat posed to state and society. Its data shows that while the Islamic extremist following in 2025 was composed of 28,645 individuals, up from 28,280 the year prior, approximately 9,110 of them were violence-oriented, down from 9,540 in 2024. German intelligence has long warned that the hostility toward LGBTQ people is an integral part of all Islamist extremist ideologies, though the motives for the Berlin Pride attack have yet to be determined. The BFV report explains that extremists see tolerance towards sexual and gender diversity as an imported Western value, which allegedly aims at destroying the Islamic community. Against this backdrop, Islamist extremists spread hate propaganda and systematically exploit this topic as an additional field of agitation in their fight against supposedly morally misguided Western values, it continued. Government representatives sought to reassure the public later that day in light of the latest assessments. "Let us not be afraid," German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said in a public statement on Sunday afternoon. "These actions have one aim. They want to divide our society. They want to take away from us our most important assets, our openness and our freedom." He also expressed support for the victims and their families and gratitude toward first responders on the scene, assuring that authorities would move quickly to capture the suspect. "There are more of us, we are stronger, and we will stay together," he said, addressing this countryman. "That is the most important thing in such a difficult hour." Iran accuses Ukraine of attacking Iranian vessel in Caspian Sea. Oh, no. Iran has accused Ukraine of attacking one of its commercial vessels in the Caspian Sea over the weekend, killing one person on board and injuring another. Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement that the attack occurred early Saturday. The casualties were the result of an explosion, it said. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov identified the vessel as Anna, an Iran-owned dry cargo ship which departed from the northern Russian city of Astrakhan with civilian cargo. In an online statement Sunday, Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Arakchi of Iran said he told his Russian and European counterparts that what the freeloader in Kiev did cannot go unanswered. The incident came as Ukraine has been conducting long-range strikes inside Russia targeting oil industry infrastructure, which Ukrainian, U.S., and European officials say has been financially backing Russia's 4-year-long war. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine said Saturday online that his country's military had struck oil targets overnight across the country, including a plant in Kirov, a refinery in Tyumen, and a fuel and lubricants depot in Rostov-on-Don. We also achieved very strong results with long-range strikes in the Caspian Sea, including vessels used in military cargo shipments involving Iran, as well as a warship, Zelensky said. Iran said Zelensky admitted to the attack, which Tehran said was a violation of the United Nations Charter. The Ukrainian regime's attack on an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea, an action explicitly acknowledged by the head of that regime, demonstrates the continuation of its irrational and hostile approach toward the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran's foreign ministry said, reaffirming that it has never intervened in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. The Islamic Republic of Iran draws the attention of the United Nations Security Council, European countries, and all UN member states to the evident fact that by attacking an Iranian commercial vessel, the Ukrainian regime not only committed an internationally wrongful act, but also sought in a dangerous manner to widen the scope of war and insecurity. Iran has been widely and credibly accused of providing Russia with drones and other military assistance used throughout much of the war. Tehran has acknowledged providing drones to Russia, but it claims they were provided before the war began in February 2022. Iranian individuals and entities have also been repeatedly linked to networks helping Russia evade sanctions. The attack comes as Iran and the United States are at war and appears to be one of the first direct military overlaps between the two conflicts, with Ukrainian forces striking an Iranian vessel allegedly involved in supporting Russia's war effort. Lavrov expressed his condolences over the death of the Iranian sailor in a phone call Sunday with Araki, and asked him to convey words of support to the person's relatives and friends, according to a statement from Russia's foreign ministry. Araki also spoke with European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Police, Kaja Kallas, on Saturday night to discuss the attack, warning her of the unpredictable consequences such as adventurism could have for regional and international peace and security, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said in a statement. "100 days until midterms. Dems lead in polling, GOP in redistricting." We're not going to do that. We're going to do a different one. Extreme heat and strong winds fuel new wildfires in France and Spain. Firefighters are tackling fresh blazes while others have been contained and hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to flee. A new heat wave forecast to hit Europe could make conditions worse. Leo Sands, here's the latest. Firefighters in Spain and France were battling fast-moving and deadly wildfires on Sunday, with extreme heat and strong winds fueling new fronts, even as others were contained. The rapidly spreading blazes near Madrid and Bordeaux have engulfed fields, forests, and homes, forcing more than 300,000 people to evacuate or take shelter, with no idea what they will find when they can finally return. Blazes there and in the Gironde and Landes regions of southwestern France have burned through an area about 3 times the size of Paris and destroyed over 240 homes as they edge toward the city of Bordeaux in the heart of the renowned winemaking region. Efrat Livni said the rising temperatures expected this week, starting on Tuesday, could worsen wildfires, according to the prefect of the Nouvelle Aquitaine region in southwest France, Sophie Bouquet. Speaking at a briefing on Sunday, she said that the residents would not be able to return to evacuated areas as long as nearby fires were raging. She also said businesses in those areas would not be operating on Monday. Catherine Porter said in France so far this summer, 115,000 hectares have burned in fires, according to Interior Minister Laurent Nunez. To put that into context, between 2014 and 2023, the average damage during the fire season was 9,000 hectares, according to the government report. In summer of 2022, which was considered devastating and caused the government to strengthen and expand its firefighting system, around 70,000 hectares burned. This fire is completely erratic, Laurent Nunez, France's interior minister, said in response to a question from an interviewer on French television about whether he could reassure the residents of Bordeaux. He said that people should remain calm but realistic as firefighters work to combat the flames and remember that the fire was not yet under control and could still spread. President Emmanuel Macron of France will hold a meeting of ministers on Monday morning to address the wildfire crisis. His office has said this on Sunday. Spain's Minister for Ecological Transition, Sarah Egeson, said on Sunday afternoon that the wildfire in Avila, one of several blazes raging near Madrid, was already the worst in Spain's recent history. We are living through an extraordinarily difficult wildfire season, she said, adding that almost 125,000 acres had burned in Avila. In total, about 378,000 acres, or more than 590 square miles, have burned across Spain so far in 2026. Augustin said more than 6 times as much as had burned by this time last year. I wonder if there's any thing in the ground in these areas that people in the oligarchy are wanting. Hundreds of people driven out by the fires sheltered in a vast exhibition center in Bordeaux, reading playing cards and, in the case of one young man, Julian Hockert, picking at his guitar. There's a solidarity that we've seen emerge here, one that's slowly growing, said Hockert, sitting on a camp bed next to his friend Céline Lartigue. She said she had been impressed by the efforts of the firefighters to stem the blaze. But sitting in the next bed, Rabat Bakabos, 70, disagreed. I think the authorities reacted late, he said. They should have recognized the gravity of the situation. He said all the elements were there for a fast-spreading fire, heat, wind, and dry vegetation. They could not have prevented it, he said, but they could have limited it. The Italian Coast Guard said in a statement on social media on Sunday that more than 400 tourists and beachgoers were evacuated by sea as a wildfire spread in the area of Peschici in coastal southeast Italy. The statement said that about 10 private boats were assisting in the rescue efforts along with official vessels. Forced to flee and wait, evacuees wonder if their homes still stand. Such a scary situation. "75 firefighters battling the Gironde blaze in southwestern France have received medical attention," local officials said in a statement on Sunday, 10 of whom required evacuation. Some 240 homes in the area have been destroyed and many roads are closed. More than 200 people were staying in makeshift bunk beds inside a sports hall in Villemante, a municipality of Madrid, on Sunday, anxiously waiting for news on whether they would be allowed to return home or the blazes were reaching their town. Some tried to nap after lunch while children kicked around a football using one of the hall's goals. "I'd been sleeping here for 3 days, if you can call that sleep," said Consuelo Lorza, 88. She shared a bed with her 11-year-old granddaughter while her daughter, Aretxa Alcazar, 54, spent the night in her car with the family dog. They were forced to flee their home in Villa del Prado after what Alcazar described as a river of fire swept down their street. "Horrifying," Lorza said. "I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I'm 88. A river of fire. Wow." Leo Sands, a breaking news reporter, said strong westerly winds are blowing smoke from Gironde wildfires hundreds of miles across France, creating a belt of pollution from the west to east. Officials in the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region in eastern France said that smoke particles from the blazes were detectable more than 300 miles from Bordeaux in the southeastern city of Lyon. Or is it Lyon? I don't know. The president of the Madrid region, Isabel Diaz Ayuson, said on Sunday that the full scale of the devastation has only started to emerge after firefighters slowed the advance of the wildfires overnight. More than 22,000 hectares, or about 54,300 acres, have been burned across the region, she said, with 43 homes destroyed and more than 300 others severely damaged. That number will rise enormously, as we have seen before, she said. Roughly 90,000 people in Madrid, the capital and neighboring areas, have been evacuated or ordered to take shelter because of wildfires. The wildfires in the mountains west of Madrid were partly contained overnight, they added, but blazes were advancing toward the neighboring provinces in Toledo and Avila. Temperatures were expected to rise slightly on Sunday, but easing winds were likely to give firefighters some respite. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez of Spain said on Sunday that some of the wildfires in Madrid, the capital, and neighboring areas were being brought under control, but he warned that the situation remained dangerous and more land was being destroyed by the blazes. "Some difficult hours still lie ahead, but the night has been very positive," Mr. Sanchez said in a news conference in Avila, a city northwest of Madrid. "The scale of this crisis is very difficult to grasp," he said. "Yesterday, we said that 130,000 hectares had burned so far this year. Now that figure has reached 150,000, an increase of 20,000 hectares in less than 24 hours. So scary. A summer of extremes set the conditions for Europe's wildfires. The wildfires torching Spain and France are a culmination of Western Europe's extreme summer in which record-setting heat waves and dry conditions set the stage for vast areas that could easily ignite. Though it is difficult to connect a single wildfire to global warming, scientists said that broiling temperatures last month, which hit both Spain and France, were made likelier because of the burning of fossil fuels. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the world's preeminent climate science body, said in 2021 that fire weather would likely increase across the Mediterranean over the course of the century. In general, wildfires are closely linked to heat and drought, which sap grasses and forests of moisture. These conditions allow for fires to spread more quickly if there is a spark. "Let me call it the drying out of the European continent," said Johann Georg Holdemer, the director of the Global Fire Monitoring Center in Freiburg, Germany. "The vegetation is suffering from this heat and drought stress, and this is accumulating." The fires The wildfires were absolutely connected to the earlier weather extremes, he said on Saturday. In western France, firefighters have battled flames in the same area that was the center of earlier heat waves. The city of Bordeaux, where thousands have evacuated from the suburbs, faced its hottest stretch in record in late June, with temperatures reaching 42 degrees Celsius. That's 107.6 degrees Fahrenheit 3 days in a row. Since June 1st, Bordeaux has had 20 days with highs of at least 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to 5 over the same period last year. It has rained only 3 days, never more than slightly. Western Europe experienced its hottest June on record, according to Copernicus, the European Union's climate monitoring service. Copernicus also reported widespread dry conditions and soil moisture well below average in Spain and France. Samantha Burgess, the deputy director of Copernicus Climate Change Service, said that the heat waves, coupled with warm European waters, pose growing risks for people, ecosystems, and infrastructure. To that end, across Europe, the world's fastest warming continent, those risks are now playing out in many ways. The Danube River recently reached its lowest water levels in 30 years, partly disrupting shipping. This month, low levels in the Rhine forced cargo ships to cut loads. The Netherlands has declared a water shortage, and much of France is facing water restrictions. And then there are the fires. According to the European Forest Fire Information System, France has already recorded its most fires and largest burned area of the last 20 summers. Between 2006 and 2015, France saw 15 fires in a typical year. This year, it has reported 312 fires with more than 70,000 hectares burned, and weeks left in summer. Spain had one of its worst recent fire seasons last year. This year's destruction is roughly 40% of last year's. Normally in Europe, wildfire risk is most intense in mid-July and August. In 2021, the European Environment Agency said that the average yearly burned area in the Mediterranean had decreased slightly since the 1980s because of improved fire management, but the agency said wildfires were striking in parts of Central and Northern Europe, not typically prone to fires. Brazil summons Argentina's ambassador after Milei's attack on Lula. Brazil's foreign ministry has summoned Argentina's ambassador after inflammatory remarks delivered by Argentinian President Javier Milei about Brazilian counterpart Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva over the weekend. Argentinian diplomat Julio Batelli must go to Brasilia on Sunday or early Monday to meet with Brazilian leaders in wake of Milei's harsh attacks on Lula during the National Convention of Brazil's Liberal Party, or PL, in Sao Paulo on Saturday, diplomatic sources told the O Globo newspaper. Milei used his speech to denounce what he called the tragedy of socialism in Latin America, singling out Lula and Minister Alexandra de Moraes of the Supreme Federal Court for intense criticism while praising PL presidential candidate Flavio Bolsonaro. The Argentine leader hailed Bolsonaro as the only candidate who can stop Lula and his effect on the country or of confronting criminal and drug trafficking organizations. Do not allow your future to be stolen. We are counting on you, Flavio, to stop this socialist garbage, said Milei. The Argentinian leader also slammed De Moraes for prohibiting him from visiting former President Jair Bolsonaro in a Brasilia prison where the ex-president is serving a 27-year prison sentence for leading a 2022 coup against Lula, or a coup attempt. I was not allowed to visit my unjustly imprisoned friend, said Milei, a declared ally of the Bolsonaro family. Flavio Bolsonaro, son of the imprisoned former president, launched his formal bid challenging Lula at the PL convention, declaring this the beginning of the toughest battle of our life, a fight between good and evil. Reactions to Milei's attacks reverberated throughout Brazil on Sunday. Workers' Party President Edinho Silva said the Argentine leader had crossed the line with the attacks. No public authority in Brazil is above criticism, as long as it is made in the appropriate manner and at the right time, he said in a social media post. However, it is unacceptable for a foreign head of state to come to our country and address its constitutional powers in disrespectful terms. It is no surprise that the current president of Argentina behaves in this way, he added. After all, there are not a few recent situations in which he has shown himself not up to the office he holds. Brazilian Supreme Court President Luiz Edson Fachin, meanwhile, similarly pushed back, reaffirming the autonomy of the country's judiciary. Oh, Netanyahu, here we go again with your shenanigans. Netanyahu accuses Mamdani of fomenting hate and calls ICC war crimes charges bogus. I do not like this man. Netanyahu. My opinion, he's evil, but that's just my opinion. Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu said Sunday that New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani is fomenting hate by calling the Prime Minister a war criminal who should be arrested over the war in Gaza if he visits the city of the United Nations General Assembly. I concur, 100%. Bibi, aka Netanyahu, said he intends to be in New York in September to address the annual UN gathering of world leaders, despite the mayor's suggestion that he is not welcome. Mamdani said last week that... Sorry, something popped up about cookies. That while New York City does not have legal authority to execute an arrest warrant issued by the world's top war crimes court, he encouraged the federal government to do so. He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone, Netanyahu said on Fox News channels. Sunday morning futures with Maria Bartiromo, but he's trying to turn one group against the other. No, he's not. He's just trying to make you pay for your crimes. The Prime Minister has become an increasingly polarized figure over Israel's war in Gaza, which was ignited by the October 7, 2023 deadly attack on southern Israel by Hamas militants. Israel also joined the U.S. in starting the war against Iran on February 28th, before launching a ground invasion in southern Lebanon in response to fire from the Iranian-backed Hezbollah group. Netanyahu on Sunday dismissed the International Criminal Court's war crimes charges against him as bogus. He pointed to sexual misconduct allegations against the ICC's top prosecutor, who was removed from that post on Friday, and said the warrant was an attempt to divert attention. The mayor's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment Sunday. Well, that's just small beans compared to all the poor children and innocent people who have died. As Indonesia cuts methane emissions, life atop a mountain of garbage begins to change. Long before dawn breaks over Indonesia's largest landfill, near Winsi joins thousands of waste pickers climbing mountains of garbage, searching for anything they can sell. The 35-year-old widow has worked at the site on Jakarta's eastern edge for 2 decades, following her parents, who still earn a living there. The Bantarjabon landfill has paid for food and rent while helping her 2 teenage daughters living with a relative in a rural village. She hopes her daughters will never have to follow the same path. Living alone in a rented room near the landfill, Wincy earns about 20,000 rupiah, $12 on a good day, collecting discarded toys, cardboard, and plastic bottles before bulldozers bury them beneath fresh waste. Occasionally, she finds old jewelry. It feels like hitting the jackpot, Wincy said while taking a break from the sweltering July heat. But those lucky finds, and perhaps her livelihood, may soon become far rarer. Beginning August 1st, Indonesia plans to start transforming the site from open dumping to a more controlled system as part of the National Waste Management Plan. The government last month announced it will shut down open dumping operations at 343 of Indonesia's 550 disposal sites, requiring them to transition to controlled or sanitary landfill systems and gradually accept only garbage that cannot be recycled or composted, such as diapers, dirty paper towels, and stickers. Meanwhile, residents are being asked to set aside organic waste and recyclables for separate processing, a practice many households have never been taught to do on a large scale. Dudi Gardesi Asikin, head of the Jakarta's Environment Agency, said the policy aims to improve environmental health, reduce pollution, and curb emissions of methane generated by decomposing waste. Methane is responsible for roughly 1/3 of the global warming and traps more heat than carbon dioxide, making it a key focus of worldwide climate efforts. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, for example, is urging governments to sharply reduce methane emissions, calling it one of the fastest ways to slow global warming. A landfill at the center of the methane debate. Researchers say that Bantarjabang emits more methane than nearly any other landfill in the world, placing it at the center of Indonesia's waste management reforms. I see one more here, and then I think we should get to our book. What do you think? But this one looks interesting, and man, the world's gone mad. U.S. eyes plan to obtain Iran's nuclear material from Pickaxe Mountain site, report says. Fox and Friends weekend host Griff Jenkins details reported U.S. plans to obtain Iran's nuclear material. Former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman breaks down the Middle East conflict. The White House is reportedly considering a complex plan to obtain enriched uranium from Iran's underground nuclear sites, specifically Pickaxe Mountain. This comes amidst satellite imagery showing continued construction and concerns about Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is reportedly open to pursuing an advanced nuclear weapon. Former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman discusses the intelligence and military options available. God of Chaos asteroid is coming sooner than you think, and 7.6 billion people will see it. A huge asteroid nicknamed God of Chaos is set to fly by Earth sooner than we think, and now scientists are saying it could be visible to 7.6 billion when it happens. 99942 Apophis is set to pass 20,000 miles above Earth on April 13, 2029, making it one of the closest flybys of a large asteroid ever predicted. That means its route will take it closer than the distance of many satellites in geosynchronous orbit. The 340-meter-long rock, which NASA says is around the same size as the Eiffel Tower, was first discovered in 2004, and concerns have been raised over how it could affect Earth. Upon its discovery in 2004, it was marked as a level 4 in the Torino scale, with the chance of it hitting Earth in 2029 increasing to 1.6%. Its potential threat to Earth even earned the asteroid the name Apophis, in honor of the ancient Egyptian god of darkness and disorder. However, the space agency is now confident that there is no risk of it hitting us for at least 100 years, and relabeled it a level 0 instead of making 2029's flyby a once-in-a-generation spectacle. Scientists believe that an asteroid as large as Apophis only comes this close to Earth once every 5,000 to 10,000 years, the essay added. To be sure, NASA has redirected the spacecraft to study Apophis and has several telescopes keeping a close eye on its movements. Instead, it'll help scientists study how gravity affects the asteroid's orbit, rotation, and surface. 200 million people could be displaced, and the U.S. is preparing. Borders are getting stronger, but not for the reasons most people think. As climate change forces millions to leave their homes, countries like the United States are increasing border security instead of addressing the root causes. Rising temperatures, droughts, and disasters are already pushing people to move. This is the reality behind modern borders, and why it's only getting more intense.
According to the reporting by Abram Lustgarten in the New York Times Magazine, put their lives into the hands. It was 10 p.m. when he got the call. Jorge and his 7-year-old son would, according to the reporting by Abram Lustgarten in the New York Times Magazine, put their lives into the hands of a coyote to guide them from their hometown of Alta Verapaz in Guatemala across several borders to the doorsteps of the United States. Lustgarten goes on to write that Jorge wasn't leaving his whole world behind on a whim. He was a relatively successful farmer until 5 years of drought followed by torrential rains and floods exacerbated by climate change meant that harvest after harvest lay dead or drowned in his fields. Jorge is one of millions forced to make impossible choices because of the climate crisis. He could either stay in Alta Verapaz and try to survive under untenable conditions, or upend his entire life to hopefully find prospects in a foreign land. As the climate crisis continues to grow worse, more and more people will be forced into these kinds of decisions. The world is facing a growing population of people displaced by climate chaos. And as we will soon see, countries in the imperial core are actively shoring up their walls to keep climate refugees out. This video was made in collaboration with Second Thought. Make sure to check out their video on ecofascism and climate refugees after watching this. Over the course of the next 80 years, the world will increasingly be on the move. Whether due to distinct climate change-linked disasters like hurricanes, or through longer-term events like drought and sea level rise, A changing climate will displace an estimated 200 to 300 million people globally by 2100. Of those 200 to 300 million climate refugees, 80% are people displaced internally within their countries, while the other 20% are projected to move from their home countries to those in the imperial core. Indeed, a comprehensive report by the World Bank Group found that by 2050, climate change will displace 143 million people internally in sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Latin America combined. And just within the last decade, weather-related events triggered an estimated 23.1 million displacements of people on average each year, according to the World Meteorological Organization. With hotter global temperatures comes droughts, making previously arable land unfarmable, sea level rise drowning coastal towns, and like the severe drought made more likely by climate change that drove rural farmers into cities, sparking uprisings and civil wars called the Arab Spring, a series of conflicts that forced millions across international borders. So the movement of millions of people within countries can add fuel to an already roaring fire, often sparking conflicts and, in turn, forcing many to leave their home country in search of less climate and conflict-racked homes. But as we've already seen with rhetoric surrounding refugees, movement across borders is not simple. Refugees are often met with hatred or are turned away, usually through force. Indeed, with the growing chaos of climate change, countries in the imperial core seem more focused on building walls than lending a hand. When Jorge reached the US border, he was met with a literal wall. To search for a way to live and support his wife and the rest of his family back home, Jorge had to scale that 20-foot steel barrier with his son and drop down on the other side. The border wall Jorge was forced to scale epitomizes the imperial core's approach to the growing number of people displaced by climate change. Rich countries spew fossil fuel emissions into the atmosphere with impunity, while those in the imperial periphery suffer the brunt of the consequences. And when people in the periphery hit hardest by climate chaos seek asylum in the core, they are met with walls and militarized borders. Borders that one paper finds are exacerbating already dire situations for refugees. To make matters worse, countries in the imperial core responsible for the bulk of historical emissions only seem to be strengthening their borders. A report by the Transnational Institute found that 7 of the largest historical emitters, responsible for 48% of the world's emissions, increased their border security spending by 29% from 2013 to 2018. In particular, in Europe, the budget for the European Union Border Agency, Frontex, has increased by a whopping 2,763% since its founding in 2006. While the United States has tripled their border and immigration enforcement budget since 2003. The imperial core is hardening their walls in a time when they need to be tearing them down and sending climate reparations to the periphery. Those 7 countries responsible for 48% of historical emissions spent double the amount on borders than they did on climate finance from 2013 to 2018. And to add insult to injury, the amount that the imperial core has paid to the imperial periphery, some $34 billion according to Oxfam, is a meager sum. The Transnational Institute and indeed Bolivia argue that just climate payments, ones that would actually repair the damage caused by the imperial core, would have to be somewhere in the range of $3 trillion per year, or roughly 6% of the core's GDP. Essentially, the actions of these countries seem to show that they are much more interested in keeping people out than actually helping the countries they've preyed on for centuries adapt and mitigate to the climate change they've caused. This border escalation and lack of climate reparations seems very much like the beginnings of eco-fascist lifeboat ethics, which claims that in times of environmental chaos, it is not only ethical, but in the best interest of rich countries to deny those in the periphery access to needed resources in order to survive. But this border escalation in the US and other core countries isn't just some coincidence. In fact, the ties between contractors who patrol borders and fossil fuel companies are a lot closer than you might think. When we dive into who exactly is arming the borders of the imperial core, a broader picture of fossil fuel imperialism becomes clear. Defense contractors like G4S, Palantir, and L3 Harris that contract with governments to militarize borders and expand surveillance nets also contract with fossil fuel corporations to defend oil infrastructure. Mercenaries from G4S, for example, were the armed guards violently cracking down on Dakota Access pipeline protests. ExxonMobil hired L3 Harris to maintain maritime domain awareness of its drilling in the Niger Delta, and BP used Palantir to develop a repository of all operated wells' historical and real-time drilling data. The link between fossil fuel companies and border security corporations is so strong that former heads of border security contracting companies sat on the boards of fossil fuel companies like Chevron. Digging down into the root cause of the growing climate refugee crisis will inevitably lead you to the fossil fuel industry. The fingerprints of fossil fuels seem to be at almost every crime scene that have led to the forced displacement of people. Fossil fuels were at the heart of the Iraq War and have enabled Russia's violent invasion of Ukraine. They've padded the pocketbooks of surveillance and border patrol contractors, and they've upended the lives of millions of people already. The border defense industry and the fossil fuel industry heavily profit off of being the root causes of the climate crisis. And in doing so, they exacerbate the consequences of war, drought, and disasters which are throwing millions of lives into chaos. Dismantling and eradicating both the fossil fuel industry and the border defense industry is not radical. It's the only path forward. Are open borders the solution to the rise of climate refugees in the 21st century? Yes, they could be, but it also doesn't solve the root problem. While open border policies could lessen the toll of moving to a completely foreign land, it still means that people have to upend their lives. So what is the best path forward in the face of the coming climate storms? First, a rapid transition to a zero-carbon world is crucial. Every degree of warming avoided means less severe droughts, less sea level rise, fewer extreme weather events, and ultimately fewer people displaced by a changing climate. So that should be priority number one. And key to that mission is the prioritization of climate reparations from the imperial core to the imperial periphery, helping countries hit hardest by climate change not only adapt, but forge a renewable economy. Channeling funds to help the periphery deal with the crisis within their borders that the imperial core has created could mean that people like Jorge don't have to make impossible choices. As one paper on climate refugees and hardening borders notes, reducing inequality between countries would also decrease the need and benefit to use international migration as an adaptation solution. Climate migration, then, should be seen as a failure of the imperial core and a symptom of global inequality, not an inevitability. It is a costly adaptation strategy that is born out of the imperial core turning the other way when they should be in the trenches helping stack sandbags for the coming storm. If you're looking for more on the connections between eco-fascism, imperialism, and climate refugees, definitely make sure to check out Second Thought's video linked below. In it, he dives into how anti-immigration sentiments evolve hand in hand with fossil fuel and eco-fascism.
And we have gone just a little over on the news, but there is one more thing I wanted to reference. For our top 4, I think we've covered everybody in the news except for the UK, and this is one that has popped up a few times in my searches. Prince William and King Charles feud over Kate Middleton explained. So, Prince Charles reportedly has a rocky relationship with both of his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. He seems to be making efforts to reconnect with the latter, spending time with him, his wife Meghan Markle, and their 2 children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, during their July 2026 visit to the UK. As for William, well, that's a different story. According to royal author Christopher Anderson, the strain between him and Charles goes back decades. In his May 2026 book, Kate, the courage, grace, and power of the woman who will be queen, Anderson reported that William and Kate Middleton's April 2011 wedding was a major source of tension between William and Charles. At the time, Charles and Queen Camilla allegedly confronted Kate in private and asked her to change the spelling of her first name from Catherine to Catherine, so from a C to a K. Anderson wrote that Camilla considered the change necessary since she was widely known as Kate. William reportedly found the absurd suggestion insulting, not only to Kate but also to her entire family. Kate, the courage, grace, and power, the woman who will be queen, on sale, 23% off. Buy on Amazon now. So regarding the situation, an insider recently told Radar Online, for Catherine it felt like they were reaching into something incredibly personal. The name that her parents chose for her and the way she has been known her entire life, being asked to alter that, even just a letter, struck her as strange and quite intrusive, especially when the public already recognized her as Kate. William reacted very strongly, the source explained. He was seething and viewed the name change suggestion as needless interference and, more importantly, as disrespectful to the Middleton family. They added, in his mind, changing his wife's name to suit a neat set of royal initials was completely unacceptable. He was genuinely angry that anyone thought it appropriate to try to rebrand something as fundamental as her own name. Another source said that William found the suggestion to be more than just a minor cosmetic tweak. He's fiercely protective of Kate and deeply respectful of her parents, so Charles and Camilla demanding she change her name for their aesthetic preference felt extremely wrong. He saw it as crossing a line in terms of how far the institution could reach into their private lives. The source continued, in private, William was unequivocal. He made it plain that there would be no alteration, and that clarity is what brought the whole discussion to an abrupt end. It became a small but telling flashpoint between a more traditional mindset, where everything is molded to fit the royal mold, and the modern stance William and Catherine are trying to take. The insider pointed out, from the Wales' perspective, asking Catherine to reshape her identity to match the tidy set of initials was a step too far, keeping Catherine exactly as it always has been. From them, a quite statement of principle, a way of saying that some parts of her, especially those rooted in her own upbringing and family, are not something the royal machine gets to rewrite. Despite the earlier drama, the four have since appeared publicly closer, especially as Kate and Charles face their respective cancer diagnoses. So yeah, at least the family's getting along now. And that, boys and girls, is the news for tonight, Sunday, 26, 2026. Alright. We're going to actually get into our book now, believe it or not. You believe me, don't you? So the book we have been reading is Out There Screaming, an Anthology of New Black Horror, edited by Jordan Peele. The story that we left off on was the Aspect, and yeah, it's been pretty good so far, I must say. Dr. Josiah Kelly's Palm profile showed 4-star reviews across the board. Patients lauded his bedside manner, his expertise, and the efficacy of his surgeries. But it wasn't the cancer removals, the organ transplants, or the heroics I sought. Your health records are clean, Dr. Kelly said. No broken bones, no emergency room visits, not even a single case of white coat syndrome. It looks like you also made it through the pandemic untouched. I nodded, unheard of, even from POAs with well-crafted immune systems. His assistants, a 4-armed creation with large ears and translucent skin, handed him my body scans. How's my brain looking? Normal. You worried about something? No, just some headaches here and there. I think I'm due for a neural update. Can you do that while I'm under? Sure. Dr. Kelly waved his hand, and as he scrutinized another slide, said, "Do you have any children?" The question threw me so much that I laughed. "Several. No, I'm sterile like all art." "Do you know your modifications?" "My art worth is up here." I pointed to my head. "At least that's what my creator said." The surgeon's mouth parted and then closed. He eyed the scans one last time and then put them aside. I took mental note. Not everyone gets cancer these days. There are many lifestyle, non-surgical options. These procedures usually for people already in the danger zone. The danger zone is too late. Cancer is in our DNA. We stared at each other. I moved to leave. "Fine. You're not the only surgeon in town." He held up a hand. I sat. "You know the details of the procedure. You put something in my liver? Kidney. Right. Little computers that snuff out the cancer. The kidney filters out the bad stuff and keeps the box in circulation." "That's more or less correct. It's not curative. But it can prevent, right?" He nodded as he considered me, weighing his options. Unlike Dr. Akoa, Dr. Kelly did nothing to hide his hunger. He'd shaped his career around broken, desperate POAs, ones who wouldn't care if they woke up with something missing. They were just happy for the chance, for hope. Some would proclaim themselves so in debt that the great doctor that they would close to work for him indefinitely. I was healthy. I had a lot to lose. Which is what made me so appealing. I rewound his facial expression to when I had joked about how normal my anatomy was. The rebuttal on his tongue, the restraint. I went back further. The question about if I'd had kids, somehow related. He'd seen something my creator had put in me, something that had made me desirable. Doubt leaked in. It wore Sasha's face. "Let's get started," he said. No spectators saw my surgery. From what I learned later, there were only 2 others in the room, a scrub nurse and a technician. "That went beautifully," the nurse said, checking the wound on my side. I winced, but not from any present pain. That was minimal. I reviewed the sensory input I'd automatically stored while under anesthesia. In line with the nurse's probes, I dipped into saved nerve clusters firing during different parts of the surgery. A small incision in my stomach far to the right. Hot fire sparked, and then an hour or so into it, the real reason. The real reason that Dr. Kelly had taken me on as a patient. The sudden lower pain originated right beneath my testicles. My eyes popped open. A soft, mewing wail escaped. The nurse frowned, then quickly smiled. "The pain will get better. Trust me, I know." They lifted their scrub skirt just enough to show their own healed belly incision. I noticed now how large their eyes were. Back to the present. No pain from my groin. I imagine not even a scar. It should have been long after surgery before I noticed anything. And by then, what case would I have? The nurse went over to the aftercare plan, which involved frequent in-person wound checks, and removed the intravenous line from my right arm. That done, I made my move. "I want to talk to Dr. Kelly," I said. "Recovery schedule seems daunting, I know, but it's important to keep calibrated. It's all in the paperwork you signed." "It's not that. I need to ask him something." "Why don't you run it by me first?" "Sure. I can have kids." That's what he saw on the scans, right? I might be the only POA in the world with a working pair of nuts. "I can't discuss the details of the case. Did he take both, or did he leave me one? And how much are POA nuts going for on the white market these days? You've heard of the white market, haven't you?" The nurse's eye twitched. Red and orange cascaded through their locks, now more visible through the hair cap. Their gaze flicked to my arm, where just minutes ago they would have been able to pump me full of quieting medications and chart it as still part of the procedure. Sasha sat cold and listening, on the neighboring bed behind The nurse turned away from me. Real or not real, I couldn't tell. Did it matter? I'll call Dr. Kelly. The nurse rushed off. I sat back and waited. Perfect. Dr. Kelly reluctantly confirmed my suspicions. My scan showed functional sperm with mutation-resistant DNA. He'd taken one of my testicles to profit off my creator's design. Though he scoffed at the notion of a collector, he agreed to work with me on the white market. He confirmed his disdain by discharging me with all the 3 pain pills. I lay in my bed the next day, in and out of consciousness. My back ached, my groin throbbed with loss. I waited for Sasha. She didn't come. I conjured up her sensorium and expected it to take flight in my mind. Nothing. Frustrated, I took all 3 pills and drifted off. The night brought sweat-soaked sheets that turned to ice in my skin. I struggled to find comfort. It didn't come. Sasha was ever quiet. Did she not care? She did nothing to comfort me. I reached out in a moment of delirium. My fingers froze at the touch. Finally, she turned to me. I stifled a scream. Her face was a horrible distortion. A hole opened in the middle of a void. Words came out that didn't match the vibration of what had been her lips. What in God's name? I didn't expect that. Dr. Okoa? Sasha dissolved into the air. The bed still held her shape. I scrambled for the mobile and brought up the feed. My loyal psychiatrist stared back at me. I told you to never, ever go to a surgeon. How'd you know? He said. I got a notification that you'd been hacked. It looks like right to be human. As your mental health professional, it gave me access to your system. Bonus content for you, huh? What? I rolled onto my back and played my favorite memories against the ceiling. I need to find the collector. She needs me. Who? Dr. Okoa said. Who needs you? Her. I pointed to the ceiling. Sasha's faceless projection ignored me. Who the fuck else? Pause. Regroup. We're spiraling. Bottom line, I'm worried about you. Come see me in person. We can figure this out together. I turned to the mobile. Dr. Okoa's face almost broke me. She'd aged in her worry. Had that eroded my creator too? Worry over my well-being? What was I doing? Where was I going with this? Still, there was something I needed to know. Why do you keep seeing me? She was annoyed, I could tell, but it was my session, damn it, and in that moment no question was more important. I asked again. Because I'm invested in you. I've been your therapist for what, 8, 9 years? What bullshit. I moved to turn off the mobile. Wait, you're right. That was bullshit. I don't know why I still see you. That's the truth. I feel complete when I'm your doctor. I searched her face for honesty, which is why I want you to come in person, she said. We can figure this out. Together. A message broke through the long silence before truth could surface. Found a buyer. Will confirm address when I have it. I ran my finger over the text. Okay, I'll come. My ride waited outside the apartment. What's your angle? The driver said when I was settled in. I raised an eyebrow through the mirror. He explained, city's going to shit with the protests. Anyone out right now is either looking for trouble or for escape. I'm just looking for a ride. Fireworks lit the night, an unsettling visual to the staccato of gunshots. The main street was inaccessible. We jumped the curb, took an empty piece of sidewalk down the block, and found a relatively quiet roadside. For what it's worth, I'm Team Consul, my driver said. He kept both hands on the wheel and didn't take his eyes off the road for more than a second's glance. I appreciated that, especially amid the chaos. I've got 3 children myself. Art should be able to be just as miserable as the rest of us. I nodded and scrolled through my mobile. I ran my finger over the address Dr. Kelly had sent me. A deep chill started at the base of my neck, went down my spine, and buried itself in a dull, aching back pain. I tried to put things together from the last few hours, the last several days, the last decade of my life. My creator's death 8 years ago had thrown everything into chaos, more than I'd realized. I looked at the passenger seat, half expecting, wanting to see Sasha, but my mind was clear, for better or for worse. I brought up her living memory instead. She was forever turned away. Was that part of it? Was life unlivable with that image of her being my last? I needed more memories. I needed to know if that feeling of her hand on mine was a fluke or something more. It's something I can't put my finger on. You feel it? I do, Sasha. I do. I pulled up my spectator settings, hesitated, and opened the feed. Hundreds of viewers came on. Angry comments flooded in. I silenced them. The ride stopped. I looked up. The night was bathed in red. A small office that could have been a home stood isolated on a triangular corner. The driver turned fully toward me. He wore a blue jacket. Under his full beard, his face was young and soft. My eyes searched his features and build, and quickly determined he was an art. Therapy session? When I looked at him sideways, he added, I'm a viewer. A very loyal one, actually. Ignore the negative comments. We're all rooting for you. It took a while for me to respond. Is this the right thing? Does it feel right? I think she might be my soulmate. I know that sounds weird because it feels weird to say. Some might say art can't have soulmates because they don't have souls. The young man's eyes seemed to be looking into me. Who cares what people think? If it feels right, that's all that matters. Did the article help? I hesitated, then nodded. He smiled. I'm glad. Headlights lit the night. A white, autonomous car pulled up in front of us, facing the opposite direction. My driver turned on the dampening shades and we both sat in silence. The front door to the office opened. High beams disguised whoever came out of the car. A woman's silhouette disappeared into the light. Looks like a special delivery, my driver said. He was right. A dull throb in my groin confirmed that an intimate piece of me had just passed hands. The woman walked quickly back up to the office as the delivery vehicle pulled away. Her stilted, paranoid gait was anything but casual. A small package was tucked under one arm. She shot a glance at us right before disappearing through the front door. I saw enough to know it wasn't Sasha. Can you wait for me? I said. I shouldn't be long. Of course. My mobile rang as I got out. Dr. Okoa. I let it go. I looked up at the corner office, the modest rose garden, the sign hanging in the door, the off-white fence. The gate hung open. I went in. Sasha's blue jacket hung on the waiting room coat rack. I touched it, but didn't need the formal check against reality. There was a new detail I'd missed before. The O in Beholder was made into an I. It was real. She was here. A long white couch and 2 comfy chairs furnished the space. Large POA portraits, each painted in vivid detail, stared at me from the walls. From somewhere unseen, white noise filled the room. A paper bag sat on an accent table beside one of the couches directly underneath a smiling Ruth, still naive in her youth. I opened it and quickly closed it again. Warm rage coated my throat. I placed a hand on the door, whispers from inside, and pushed into Dr. Okoa's office. Oh! They both turned to me. Sasha on the couch, leg crossed, one arm draped over the top. Dr. Okoa sat a few feet opposite, leaning forward in attention. I took mental note of the moment, the office decor from the career of deception, Sasha's surprise, Dr. Okoa's worried expectation. the hint of coconut conditioner in the air. Dr. Koa stood. I gasped as the fullness of her features registered in real time. I long suspected my path would lead back to her. I'd made peace, if not understanding, on the short ride over. I hadn't, however, prepared for the cognitive dissonance her appearance caused. Deep lines cut where I had seen only smooth skin before. Her eyes sagged at the corners. Age had shifted one cheek higher than the other. My longtime psychiatrist had somehow aged 40 years in the hour since I had last seen her. "A filter?" I said. "All this time?" Dr. Koa touched her own face, thought for a moment, then cursed. "I know this is a lot," she said. "I needed to get you here so we can talk. Do you recognize the handle aesthetic one? I trusted you with everything. I think you've been the victim of a neural attack, someone who knows your modifications." I turned to Sasha. She was all that mattered. "We don't have to stay. We don't have to do anything she says. Let's get out of here." Instead of taking my hand, Sasha pulled away. Doubt flooded me. There was no injury, no distress, no discernible harm, only confusion. She had come willingly? Did she even know the danger she was in? "Dr. Akoa, she's the collector," I said. "She brought you here. She brought us here. I don't know what she wants to do to us, but it's not good." Sasha, eyes wide, turned to Dr. Akoa. "What's he talking about?" "She wants to collect us, Sasha. We have to go." "Please," Dr. Akoa said. "Listen to yourself. You're not thinking straight. I'm your doctor, nothing else." "Then why the filter? Why come off to me as something you're not?" "Your creator insisted on it. I was her therapist, and I promised I'd look after you, the both of you, after she died. She made you to be together. She said you felt something, right? And Sasha, you told me the same?" I looked around. The office was small and intimate. Dr. Akoa was mounted atop her desk. Behind it, the background-framed image of a rose I'd seen through her camera over the years. My eyes passed over her open door and bag still on the table just outside of it. I hardened. Dr. Akoa caught my gaze. She grabbed the bag and held it out for me. I snatched it. "I don't know who sent that to me," she said, "but whoever did, they're setting you up. It's a very dangerous place right now for a POA, and with what you and Sasha could create." I ignored my psychiatrist, ignored the thought of my testicle and possibly pressed up against my chest, sat beside Sasha and took her hand in mine. She didn't recoil this time. "Do you trust me?" A lot went unsaid. She did trust me, as I did her, even though neither of us had any logical reason to. My skin on hers, I was suddenly back in that upstate New York garden. Through the years, I'd concluded that I had been designed to bond with my creator. That same feeling was present now with Sasha. We were made for each other. I stood. Sasha stood with me. "Don't do this," Dr. Akoa said. "I'm not the enemy. I'm supposed to save you." "You've done enough." To Sasha, I said, "We're going to be okay." And with that, we left. Dr. Akoa didn't follow. The car waited, engine humming. "Is that her?" the driver said, craning his neck as he readied the car. "Standing in the doorway, the collector? Whoa, you two okay?" "Just drive, please." He did, with haste. "I'm shaking," Sasha said. "This is crazy. I trust you, but I don't know why. Maybe because... No. I know it's this. I dreamed of you that night. Of us. We had a family." "I had the same dream. Did you know your creator?" "What?" "I didn't. She died when I was young. Dr. Akoa knew her. Said I was made special." Sasha's hand went to her belly as she trailed off. "Upstate New York?" I said. Her eyes searched mine. "Yes, but how?" "We were made to be together. Made to fall in love. To create. Dr. Akoa, whatever her name really is, she wants to use that. She wants to make us her art. Do you understand? I want to, Sasha said. She looked back out the window. She's been my therapist for almost 10 years now. I know. She had us both fooled. I checked the contents of the bag just to be sure, grimaced as I set it aside on the seat and opened my mobile to put the updated destination into the right app. I froze at the pending notification. I tried to mentally backtrack an hour or so, only I hadn't thought to save the memory. What was real? What's wrong? Sasha said, leaning over to see my mobile screen. What is it? Your ride could not wait any longer and was canceled. Please try again. Starting location was still my apartment. The ride I'd taken was not the one I'd scheduled. I leaned forward to talk to the driver, but he'd put his driver up. His divider. You hear that? Sasha said. A faint hiss. The air smelled of coconut. Get out, I said. Get the fuck out! The panic in my voice demanded action, and Sasha listened. She struggled against the door. It's locked. She was right, my side too. I leaned over her and yanked at the handle. Nothing. I banged on the divider. The car accelerated in response. I sat back, suddenly exhausted from the effort. Each heaving breath was full of coconut. Blurred colors swirled overhead. Sounds became distant. Memories became strings of consciousness. Laughter burst out of me. Sasha giggled too. Her eyes watered. This is art, I said. This is fucking beautiful. I wished my creator could see me. I hoped somehow she could. I turned on my spectator app and put the camera to see what I saw. The colors, the piece. A pause. Someone entered the virtual space. Aesthetic 1-1. The lifelong spectator who had sent me the article. I recognized his avatar now, hidden from me before, as the bearded man with the soft face, who now chauffeured the ultimate moving art piece. A quote under his handle read, "To be human is to be human. Hashtag right to be human." Beautiful, he wrote. I liked his comment. I took Sasha's hand as I closed my eyes and took in the moment. She didn't squeeze back, enraptured in the art of it, too. Beautiful. Yes, it truly was. Pressure by Ezra Clayton Daniels. Your ears still haven't popped since this morning's flight. You've been trying to unplug them every few minutes by swallowing with your mouth wide open. 7 hours later, with still no relief, the act has evolved into an involuntary tick. It's a ridiculous sight that's already become a running family joke, but you miss half the bars because your hearing remains muffled. As distracting as it is, it's a minor discomfort given how dangerous air travel has become. This afternoon's event hardly warranted your presence, but you suspect this may be the last time you'll be able to travel your hometown with any faith that your plane won't be snatched out of the sky by a flash, storm, fire whirl, or pressure pocket. Your aunt's house hasn't changed since you were last here, but you'll have to wait until morning to see how the years have changed her. It's completely in character for her to have insisted you sleep here tonight, and then leave it entirely to her daughter, Katie, to play host. Though it's only a little past 8 in the evening, you've been forewarned of Aunt Libby's abuse of what happens to be the cheapest and most effective coping strategy for existential anxiety: sleep. The living room of this big house is an island of light. Now that you're here, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as your Uncle Ted long ago playfully dubbed this generation of only child cousins, are reunited for the first time in almost 10 years. You fill the time, but quickly fall into a familiar dynamic. You resume the role you once imagined as that of the quiet observer, but what others saw, Katie would reveal to you years later, was the pretentious loner. You've stayed in better touch with some of your family members than others, but none more naturally than Katie. She's the gay cousin and you're the black cousin. Mixed to be clear, but black reading. In a branch of the Vance family that otherwise perfectly resembles the cast of a Silver Age television sitcom. The two of you bonded early in your otherness, but where you took your second-class status as a challenge to disprove every negative expectation chained to your ankle, Katie rejected the very concept of expectation. She rebelled as a small-town teen does, colorful hair, t-shirts with provocative slogans, and piercings bold enough to draw eyes on the street, but easily concealed with a down hairstyle. Though Uncle Ted diplomatically never officially declared which cousin he meant paired with which adjective, it was understood this phase was what earned Katie the moniker of the Bad. You were the first person in the family Katie came out to. She was 14 and you were 16, and she was the only other person who heard the oldest of the three, Andrew, call you a nigger at your 7th birthday party. Andrew was 8 and Katie was 5. She still brings it up during every one of your semi-annual catch-up phone calls, always with a deep sigh and a shaking head you can't see but can somehow hear. Katie, being the youngest cousin, strongly protested your plan to get the fuck out of this shithole town the day you turned 18. To paraphrase your own words, but that's exactly what you did. With you gone, that left just her and Andrew, who then sporadically attended a local community college as the kids in the family. As Katie explored and became more comfortable in her sexuality, Andrew explored and became more comfortable in his homophobia. Those 2 years before Katie got the fuck out of this shithole town herself, while you were off gleefully making your first adult mistakes in the big city, were a dark spot in your correspondence. It was during this time that Katie pushed into her rebellion, which you only learned of secondhand and long after the fact. House calls from police, week-long disappearances, a physical altercation with her mom. She found comfort in food and gained so much weight in such a short amount of time that she had a mini-stroke at the age of 17. The family became very careful not to refer to her as the Bad in her presence. You still regret not being there for her during this time, but yours is a family that prefers not to embolden past pains by speaking of them. You've all moved on. Let's not jinx it. Katie has settled into a fulfilling career at a local nonprofit that aims to convert vacant land into long-term villages for climate refugees. You feel close enough to Katie to take vicarious pride in her work, but with as few victories as she's had, it's debatable whether she accomplishes anything more than stirring the ire of those irrationally still concerned with immigrant crime waves or American jobs. People like Andrew, frankly. Neither you nor Katie looked forward to seeing Andrew again, not that you expected a confrontation. Andrew just is who he is, and that is difficult. You never held a grudge over the birthday party incident. You were all just kids, and whatever specifically occurred between him and Katie that resulted in her briefly refusing to attend any family function at which he would be present is none of your business. He's family, and besides, he's mellowed in adulthood. Still, he's never more than a syllable away from raising your blood pressure. For instance, once during a family game of Taboo, Andrew got the card American, and for a clue said, "We're not just white, we're..." Whenever you recall this, and the obliviousness it seemed to spontaneously manifest in the room, you feel certain this was the instant you adopted the pretentious loner role in the family. Andrew wants you to know he has a mild sinus headache tonight, and that may be why he's been more or less tolerable despite repeatedly derailing the conversation with tasteless innuendos, failing to address, silence, or stow his constantly vibrating phone, and generally just talking too loud. Remember, Katie's mom is asleep upstairs. Andrew always had a way of dominating the space, but as he talks, you find yourself absently scanning the room like disengaged partygoer. It's not superior conversation you're looking for, but a cat named Scamper. Katie's childhood pet must be almost 20 years old now. You don't know if she's alive anymore, but you hope. In fact, in this particular precarious moment, you feel that news of her death would utterly devastate you. Scamper was your entire support network in the years that your alienation first began to feel specific and nameable. She would invariably hide from the duration of every family gathering hosted in this house in a bedroom, when she was annoyed or bored, or under the couch when she felt threatened, the better for keeping an eye on the threat. When, as a teen, you felt the first terrifying pinches of a now familiar tightness in your chest, you would instinctively retreat, now familiarly tightness, from Katie's dad's famous hot dog platters by absconding into the quiet depths of this very house in search of Scamper. You would probably find her in Katie's room, curled up at the foot of the bed. You would slip in, lie on the floor, and Scamper, curious, would hop down and alternately press her cheek against your face and lick your long, kinky hair. While you have no desire to return the sullen and neurotic teen you once were, you sometimes desperately miss this freedom to unceremoniously bow out of any social interaction at any moment for any reason. These days, you manage to keep your anxiety mostly under control. What that means in practice is that you've honed a keen ability to perceive and mimic the energy around you. In other words, you fake it. So with a smile, you follow Andrew and Katie's lead in raucously recounting years of relationship drama, shit jobs, and your impending 30s. Andrew's tales of failure are the most dramatic, with more than one climaxing in an honest-to-God fistfight. Recounting these incidents has him red-faced and agitated as if he were living them again, so you avoid pointing out where he was clearly in the wrong. Conspicuously, all of Andrew's failures are rooted in his distaste for being told what to do, and none to date have resulted in any real consequences. Though it's dimmed over the years, you can still see the sparkle of invincibility in Andrew's eye. In the good, the bad, and the ugly, he was almost certainly meant to embody the good. Andrew resembles the sanctioned vision of success in every way. His voice booms and his chest puffs. His smile is big, straight, and unreserved. His broad shoulders, square jaw, and sun-kissed pink skin are reflected in every movie, TV show, and advertisement since time as the physical traits of a hero, a leader, a boss. Andrew never had any ambition other than to have everything he wanted, despite never really excelling at or working hard for anything. Luckily for men like him, the world has been configured to accommodate that ambition. While you can't recall his job title and have no desire to be reminded, you understand he has inexplicably but steadily risen in his company's ranks. His presentation this afternoon was the culmination of his meteoric 5-year rise at one of the countless startups, materializing with cynical, short-sighted, Hail Mary bids to capitalize on the fall of mankind. From what you could glean from the PowerPoint accompanying his keynote, this one of crackpot promise of localized weather stabilization via manipulation of atmospheric pressure, targeted toward the very same ad industry that until only recently had defiantly rolled out of the red carpet from the end of days. As Andrew showered buzzwords over an impressive crowd, every pair of eyes was focused several yards to his left. There, under a spotlight, behind the reinforced glass blast shield, stood a hatchback-sized lollipop-shaped rocket. He pressed a comically large ceremonial button, and whoever was actually in control of the rocket fired it into the sky. It rose up slowly on a tube of smoke and flame and disappeared behind dense dark cloud cover. A soft, glowing green orb appeared and hovered in the sky. The heavy clouds then parted to reveal a sparkling canopy of neon green chemical reactions in the stratosphere. Andrew beamed as the sun shone down on the exuberant crowd. Just as Andrew inched off a final celebratory nugget of jargon, a deafening crack of thunder rematerialized the cloud cover in an uncanny instant. These resurrected clouds were heavy, iridescent in color, and roiled like a blanket of soft, churning oil. The rain that fell as a floor, dropping from above, was slick and smelt of methane. Gross. No one knew what the rocket was supposed to do except Andrew and his colleagues, but his beet-red face was confirmation that a panic-driven crowd fleeing for cover was not on the agenda. Now here he is, licking his wounds in the quiet safety of Aunt Libby's house, instead of commiserating with his colleagues at a strip club or sports bar or wherever. Honestly, you could not care less about any of this. You've long since hollowed out your own space. A safe space and a singular selfish focus on making art. Your presence this weekend was largely a misguided reciprocation of support that you always suspected was disingenuous to begin with. Andrew seemed to go out of his way to like every one of your badly self-promoting social media posts, and every notification ding, likely by design, struck a notch on your indefensible, entirely one-sided guilt tally. It's not hard to imagine the cystic jealousy behind Andrew's insistent invitation. After all, the deck was stacked so profoundly against you. You, the memento of an affair between an understanding, middle-class, white housewife and a mysterious, home-wrecking black man just passing through town on his way someplace better. You've never admitted to anyone how much of your drive is rooted in a desire to prove to the family that they chose the wrong one as their golden child. If Andrew takes your success as a personal insult, maybe he's right to. You're not the most financially successful of the good, the bad, and the ugly, but until this weekend, your success have been most public. Even though $1.25 street tacos remain the foundation of your diet, a recent New York Times review of your first solo show at a major gallery was irrevocably convinced your family, all the way down to distant nieces and nephews, that you're a big shot. Any attempt to correct them is simply your oh gosh Midwestern humility. You slide your duffel bag out from behind your overstuffed chair. Inside is a small stack of catalogs from your show. You pridefully pass out copies to oohs and ahs, souvenirs from an exhibition no member of your family attended. Even in the convenient form of a hand-delivered, image-heavy booklet, you doubt anyone here will actually engage with the work. In a way, you hope they don't. There would most certainly be drama if anyone in this room recognized an unflattering reflection of themselves in one of your pieces, of which there most certainly was. You begin to answer a question about the piece on the cover with an anecdote no one really wants to hear. You don't even think about your duffel bag being open and your stuff out on full display until Andrew, squirming with restlessness just a few words into your story, pulls your cocoa butter scented shaving cream off the top. You brace yourself. It's the expensive stuff, which you've committed to only after years of costly and painful trial and error. It comes in an old-fashioned metal can, and the label has an outsider design quality. It begs to be handled. You're not surprised Andrew has never heard of cocoa butter, but you are surprised by the earnest tone in which he asked you about it. What once would have spawned a half-baked joke hinged on your otherness, like cocoa caused your skin is brown, instead has piqued simply on his interest. You generously give Andrew permission to squirt some. He presses a crackling little white cloud into the palm of his hand and brings it to his flared nostrils. He tells you it smells really good. You know it does. He rubs the cream into both sides of his neck, which is the last thing you would think to do with it. It fills the room with sweet creamy scent that everyone inhales serenely. It's a small moment of connection that you feel grateful for, both because it didn't become more of a thing and because distraction was enough to get everyone off the topic of your work. The latter certainly was Andrew's goal, conscious or not. You slip the cream back into your bag, pushing it deeper inside, this time under a layer of clothing out of sight. You zip the bag up and slide it back behind your chair. No more of that. Katie's indulgent tangent about her own skincare regimen peters out as she becomes distracted by a sound she describes as a tiny whine. Perk your ears pointlessly. Even if there is a tiny whine, your ears are still too plugged to pick up anything subtler than an inside voice. Andrew hears it, though, and in the next few moments it becomes a challenge. Find the source of the tiny whine. You join in, though you don't expect to be of any help. After a fun half-minute or so of pacing the room with your heads tilted one way and then the other, the whine has grown loud enough for even you to hear. The desperate scream of a tiny tea kettle. As it increases in volume, it rises in pitch. It's too loud now to ignore. The game of Find the Noise is no longer just a playful respite from a strained conversation, but a serious task with potentially harmful implications. Is it an alarm? A burst gas line? Andrew approaches the mystery as a competition to be won by brute force. He tears indiscriminately through the room, inspecting objects from which the sound could not possibly emit, like couch pillows and picture frames. Perhaps inspired by his thoroughness, you check around the chair you were just sitting in. In the same moment you realize the sound is coming from your own bag, it inflates with a gunshot-like pop. Gasps and yelps abound before everyone catches themselves. Don't forget, Katie's mom is asleep upstairs. Shot graduates to adrenalized giggles as Katie urges you to look inside. You poke the bag and it deflates. Carefully unzip it and find the contents slathered in whipped cocoa butter shaving cream. All your clothes, your books, you throw your hands in to rescue your laptop, but yank them back when your finger is pricked by a shark of the flayed metal can. Put the finger in your mouth reflexively, and suck. The blood is tinged with cream, which tastes more bitter than you expect. The aroma of cocoa butter in the room is now overwhelming and saccharine. You zip the bag back up. A dozen theories flap around your head, but they all start with Andrew somehow sabotaging your expensive shaving cream. You accuse him, only half serious, but his furiously defensive reaction, furious even for Andrew, dissolves any connection you'd made in the previous hours. Katie diplomatically suggests that Cam became overpressurized on the flight. The idea more or less jives with your layperson's understanding of physics, and Andrew emphatically supports this theory. It's a good thing it exploded in your bag, and you all agree, not in someone's hand. Katie excuses herself to check on her mom. The ruckus must have roused her. Your mind drifts to worry. The smell of cocoa butter will now forever conjure memories of this evening rather than those of early college nights up late with the first real black friends you'd ever had. Learning about all the stuff you'd missed out on, being raised by a white mom in a white house and a white family in a white town. The silence doesn't feel awkward until Andrew interrupts it to tell you he's proud of you. The statement feels forced, like when as children, his dad made him apologize for hitting you or Katie. His somber finality makes you wonder if he's in an anger management or addiction program with the assignment. Make peace with those you've hurt. He leans in close as if to tell you an important secret. His face flushes and his eyes water as he struggles for the words. Feel bad for him in a way. He's been rigorously ill-equipped to navigate this modern world of emotional candor. You catch a small dark movement from the corner of your eye, and you cut Andrew off with a squeal. It's Scamper, who to save you as she always has, and you could cry. Her long gray fur is jetted into cotton balls under her belly, and she's wet around the eyes, but you can't judge the old girl. She's a survivor. You coo and coax, and you sense Andrew's hurt feelings that you didn't extend the patience required for him to express whatever had him all in the way. You snatch Scamper off the floor as she attempts offensively to slip by you toward Andrew on the couch. It's true Andrew has seen her more regularly in the past 10 years than you, but she's your special little buddy, not his. You can find her squirming and grimly bony body to your lap, confident she'll recognize you any moment, and press her cheek against yours with a nostalgic mew. You stroke her dusty fur, mindful of the still bleeding cut on your finger. Katie comes back down. The plush stares and smiles when she sees you reunite with Scamper. Don't worry, her mom was not disturbed. She hadn't even stirred. Katie yawns goodnight herself, and you, probably too eagerly, express your intent to follow her lead. You have no desire to let Andrew corner you again with his amends. Kiss the top of Scamper's head and set her gently on the floor. She slips directly under the couch. You say goodnight to Andrew and Katie, and Andrew just nods. You slide into bed and kick the blankets untucked as the day replays in your tired head. Recall the event, photographer's flattering determination to capture your face from every conceivable angle, and with a snap, the true motive behind Andrew's oddly insistent invitation reveals itself to you. Funny how these things only ever dawn on you once confrontation, even a thoroughly passive-aggressive one, is no longer convenient. You did in fact notice there was only one person of color other than yourself in the standing room crowd. A tall, stylish Southeast Asian woman who stuck close to the side of one of the male execs. She stood out, and you even felt a tinge of jealousy when the photographer drifted over to hover around her once she was through with you. You shake your head to yourself, confident that every single photo published from the event will prominently feature either you or her. Photographic proof of the diverse appeal of the company's technology. Accustomed as you are to being the only person of color in any given space, this tokenism still takes you by surprise. It's particularly hurtful to be tokenized by someone close to you. Even a family member, you can stand less and less by the hour. But it's also so rare for you to be photographed by a professional that you have to admit you're eager to see the shots. You did look good that day. Thankfully, this betrayal wasn't surprising enough to cost you sleep. You rest hard on the old worn-in guest mattress you've jumped and slept in dozens of times over the years. You dream of drowning your head, held underwater by a small but powerful hand. You hold your breath until it hurts. Finally, you inhale, expecting your lungs to fill with water and end your suffering, but it's just air. In your dream, you can breathe underwater. I've actually done that before. It's pretty amazing. It feels like you've been asleep for only a few minutes when you're slapped conscious by an explosion of shattering glass. You sit up, your heart pounding so hard it knocks the wind out of you with each beat. You creep to the door and listen, but hear nothing. Your ears still haven't popped. You open your mouth and swallow, and an electric, blinding pain shoots through your skull. Your ears have never been plugged this badly before. You wonder if it would be an overreaction to go to the ER as you carefully open the door. From here you can see directly into the kitchen where Katie stands in shock. You make eye contact and your lips warn you not to move. There's glass everywhere. You notice a blue plastic lid on the counter, the jagged remnants of a glass jar jutting out from under it in the pool of white slime. The rest of the jar is sprayed all over the kitchen. Katie holds a hot dog bun in one hand and a spreading knife in the other. The white specks on her shirt are mayonnaise. She half laughs, an excuse that she couldn't sleep because of a headache. She stumbles through her words, mortified. This is a Katie you've never met before. You slip your shoes onto bare, clammy feet and notice that your entire hand is tacky with blood. The cut on your finger has bled through the night. This little cut, you never gave a second thought. You shuffle toward Katie, collecting every visible piece of glass along the way. She describes a late-night snack in mayonnaise jar that exploded all by itself on the counter. This much you can glean from her expressive, apologetic hand gestures. Keeping conscious of your speaking volume, you emphasize that you've never seen anything like it, right before you realize you have. Katie presumably theorizes about the physics of how this could happen. Twice in one night, no less, but you can't hear a word she says. You don't dare swallow again. You carefully set mayonnaise slick glass shards into the flip-top trash can, and the kitchen goes dark with a flash. Katie flinches violently, and you feel a soft trickle onto your hand. You touch delicate pieces of glass in your hair. The light bulb in the ceiling above you has exploded. You now experience a fear you haven't felt since childhood. That of ghosts and demons, of extraterrestrials and evil witches. It's a fear of irrational, a suspicion that your understanding of the world is fatally flawed. Katie's lips move through the darkness, instructing you to open the windows. You think about the uncomfortable, wobbly vibrations you feel in a car when the windows are rolled down just right and the car is going just the right speed. There's something like that feeling in the air here, but sharper and heavier. Katie fumbles with the crank on the big window behind the couch, and you turn to the small one in the kitchen. You slide it open, and a wave of thick, hot air pushes right through you. Outside, the sky is a deep, solid hunter green. The trees in the forest past the backyard lie on top of one another like pickup sticks, pushed down by some great but gentle force from above. A nauseating vision of a forested refugee village is mercifully interrupted by the blink of a small rectangle of light on a coffee table. It's Andrew's phone, still obnoxiously crying out for attention. You lean down to read the message on the screen. Chris from engineering, get your family and go. Your stomach drops. You just hope it won't hurt. Katie sits on the floor, mouthing words you can't read. In your fugue, your thoughts focus on Scamper. You stalk the living room. You look behind furniture and down hallways. The room flashes, then grows darker with each light bulb that explodes in its socket. You take a knee at the couch, praying you won't find Scamper underneath. You've irrationally pinned your hopes on this cat being unfazed or demonstrating some animal instinct that might guide you. You lower your head to the floor. Plush carpet depresses against the side of your face. A poor substitute for Scamper's cheek. You look under the couch and see a furry lump of cat. You can't tell which end is her head, and she doesn't twitch when you click your tongue in her. You wish you could go back to sleep. The rumble of a stumbling body draws your eyes to the stairs, and there you see Andrew in a daze. His bloodshot eyes bulge uncannily, yet he moves blindly. His booming voice rattles with a tone you can feel more than hear, but his words are impossibly crisp. It wasn't my fault. A response vibrates involuntarily past your vocal cords. Is it words, a scream, or something new, a song of hysteria? Your unintelligible voice draws Andrew towards you, a wilted bloom toward the heat of the sun. Katie, too, gravitates toward the voice. You can neither hear nor stop. In the heavy, hot room, lit by nothing but the sick haze of a nightmare sky, Andrew and Katie crawl towards you heavily, as if returning to a form of primordial mud. The pain growing behind your eyes and inside your ears is unbearable. You wish you were near a high ledge from which you could dive out of your misery. The good, the bad and the ugly hold one another like you did as toddlers in staged family photos. Your vision collapses to a pinpoint, unable to hear or see. You breathe in as deeply as you can, and your remaining senses are consumed by the residue of cocoa butter on Andrew's neck. It takes you back to a hopeful time, and you feel a wisp of gratitude. You hold your mouth open wide, and you swallow. How interesting, you think. The end isn't a fade black. It's a scalding flash of white. Dark Home by Nnedi Okorafor. I couldn't let go. I didn't want to let go. It didn't matter how crazy shit got. I was ready to stop time if I could. In my mind that day, I wasn't thinking straight. I couldn't. That's why I did something foolish. Something deeply, deeply selfish. I refused to let go. But when you hang on like that, sometimes things hang on to you. The day I decided to hang on was windy and hot. The blue tents were getting blown about, and there was no sun to make them necessary anyway. The gray skies churning with clouds were unusual this time of year in Isakinisi. People were muttering under their breaths that this type of day was a strange omen, certainly not a good day to see a big man off to the spirit world, a la Moore. Regardless, I knelt at his white casket, staring at my father's face through stinging red eyes, as I rubbed and wailed. I grasped at the soft white petals of the flowers braided around him. They smelled sweet and heady. The loose ones were blowing away. My father's rough hands were crossed over his chest, and my eye fell on the bronze ring on his right middle finger. It had been there my entire life. It had the frowning face of an eagle on it. It was still here, but he wasn't. I wailed some more. My throat was raw, and I could taste blood and salt from my tears and the dust from the heavy, humid air. I felt someone pull me away. Then my auntie was hugging me, and I was pressing my face to her shoulder. She was wearing a Nigerian black lace blouse, and she was drenched with sweat. Everyone was. I added my tears to her sweat, the lace scratching against my face. All of Isakinisi had come out to see my father's homegoing, and that was a beautiful surprise. All the relatives had gotten together and made it happen. The tents, the dancers, the food, the music. There were both Nigerian flags and Isakinisi village flags hanging from tent poles. My father's gorgeous village home had been made to look like new. Mud-stained walls washed, the floors polished, new furniture brought in for people to sit on, new beds in all the bedrooms. The house was now like a small palace, but the fact was that my father had died, and none of this made things better. My mother had passed when I was 9 years old in a horrible car accident during a violent storm one night in Phoenix, Arizona. 3 decades ago, but it felt like yesterday. She'd been working at the restaurant with my family and left early because she hated driving in thunderstorms. The storm that was not supposed to arrive for another hour had changed directions and wound up right over her when she was on the highway. And then, according to people who were there, the storm had gone mad. A microburst, they call it. It flipped Mom's car, and when it landed, it crushed every bone in her body. It had been just me and my dad ever since. My dad was my confidant, my best friend, my closest family. My parents owned a restaurant called Chief Jollof, and it was one of the most popular restaurants in Phoenix among the city's darker, more cultured residents. My father was well known, and when my mother passed, plenty of women came around, many of whom my father dated. When we visited Nigeria, they paraded before my father too. He'd had fun with his dalliances, but my mother was his one. After she passed, I became the center of his life and he the center of mine. "What do I do now?" I muttered. My auntie helped me sit down in a white plastic chair. We were among my father's relations in the house, across from where my father lay. I glanced around and looked right back at the ground to avoid making eye contact with anyone. The house was packed with so many people. "What do you do today?" Auntie asked. "Just breathe, see your father home. When you fly back to the States, keep his restaurant going. That is his legacy." I stared into space when she stepped away for a moment. Somehow I couldn't have felt more alone. The haunted lyrics of a song that had been in my head since it all happened drifted into my mind yet again. "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again." I hummed the song under my breath, and more tears squeezed from my eyes. My auntie returned to me and pushed a bottle of cold Fanta into my hand. The feel of it brought me back to myself a bit. The line had formed in front of my father's body now. People were buffeted about by the winds, but they held steady to say their goodbyes. Part of the shrine of flowers built around him would be trampled. Not with malicious intent, but because people would want to get close to him. I understood, but I frowned at the destruction anyway. By the time night fell, I was exhausted. Everyone had left my father and moved inside. I wanted to go back out there to be with him. The wind had finally died down, and now it was quiet. Why was his body still even out there? I sighed at the realization that the mosquitoes wouldn't leave him alone. They would. I went to my room and changed into something more comfortable, a mostly black Ankara dress with flat sandals. No one seemed to notice. The later it got, the drunker people got. Children had been sent to bed hours ago. Some had even pushed the furniture in the main room aside to create a dance floor. The music was loud, there was laughter, and some were still eating. My father would have loved it. If there was one thing that made him happy, it was when people gathered and had a good time. His restaurant was a lot like this on the last Friday night of every month, when he'd bring in a DJ and stay open until 10. Yeah, my dad would have enjoyed this, even if I didn't, but I couldn't stop thinking of his body lying out there in the dark, alone. I whimpered to myself, feeling a ripple of grief as I leaned against the wall watching people dance. Everyone around me was speaking loudly in Igbo. I understood some, but it was mostly like blurred speech to me. Familiar, but imprecise understanding. Maybe that's why the talk of stick against stick, so crisp and clear, reached my ears despite all the noise. It was simple in what it was conveying. After a minute or two, others began to notice it too. Someone cut the music. Everyone froze, listening. Talk, talk, talk. A steady hollow beat. It paused as if whoever was creating the beat realized we were all finally listening. Someone began playing a flute. A faraway melody, though it was, right outside. Light, sweet, playful warning. "Hey!" one of my older uncles exclaimed. Those around him chuckled nervously, looking around at one another. People began to slowly move to the front door and the front windows. No, only the men. My auntie's cousins, family friends, friends and acquaintances of my father's. All these women scurried to the other side of the room. I moved forward with the men. I wasn't paying attention. Dad is outside, was what I was thinking, with that sound. And then I was the only one who opened the front door and stepped outside into the darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend, I thought. I sniffed the air and caught a whiff of smoke. Mokolo, get back in here, my father's younger brother, Jekbu, shouted at me. Go and stand with the women. Where's your brain, eh? Don't you know what that is out there? Oh, I knew what it was. It was in southeastern Nigeria, deep in the village, and the title Big Man had died. Everyone knew what was coming, even the one naive American in the group. But I wasn't in the right mind. Dad had died. He was lying in his casket, right out there in the dark, beyond the circular driveway, at the wall on the plot of the land where he would be buried, alone. Earlier, my aunties had pulled me away so that I could come back to myself. I'd been screaming and wailing, and now it was washed over me again. I swayed, turning to my Uncle Jeku and the other men around him. The flute started to play. The top, top, top of sticks graduated to the beat of a drum, and now it was already in the compound. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them moving toward where my father lay. I blinked in the light shining from inside the house. Alone, I thought, frantically. I can't leave him alone. I can't leave him. It's not right. Dad! I turned. I ran. I held my black dress above my ankles as I raced across the compound. I could barely see where I was going in the dark. I didn't think about tripping over a stone protruding from the dirt or a root or the edge of the concrete driveway or a bush growing in the dirt on the other side of the driveway. My uncle shouted for me to come back, but no one followed me into the dark. They all stayed in the doorway of the house, built long before I was born, where it was safe. Some probably watched me from the windows on the upper and lower floors too. Mostly men, but maybe some of the women as well. The women whose curiosity got the better of them. What I was doing would assure that I'd be talked about for years. My uncle probably said, "She is stupid, stupid woman." I've heard him say this about others, always women, for lesser reasons. I knelt on the tramp with flowers beside my father's body, the music of the haunted flute filling my mind. I was weeping again as I looked at my dad in the dark, seeing him in my mind. Laughing as he stood near the front door of Chief Jollof, watching people walk in, sitting in his office at the house smoking a cigar as he always did on his birthday, dancing to the music. I blasted in my car when I pulled up to the restaurant. Someone shrieked and I looked up. The compound was filling with people holding candles, men, all wearing the same type of shirt and pants. I couldn't see exactly what the pattern was or even what color because it was too dark. However, I could tell they were all the same. 10 men, then 20, then maybe 30. They walked in silence, stopping some 20 feet from me. One of them approached with a staff made of black wood with 3 cowbells attached to the bottom half and palm fronds braided into a bunch at the top. He raised the staff up high and with all his might stabbed it into the dirt beside the trampled flowers on the other side of where my father lay. The cowbells clanged and the staff vibrated and then stood on its own. He stepped aside to let the drummer and the flute player through. These 2 men came closer, but they, too, stopped yards from me. The flute player's tune slowed, lowered, and quieted. I saw why and pressed closer to my father. It stood 10 feet tall and was wide as a van. Dark and looming, it was a great mound of black palm tree raffia. Rooted animal furs hung from its midsection. Leather tassels with cowrie shells at their ends clicked and clacked as it shimmied, then bounced toward me. Black feathers with white stripes protruded from the top, and oily white smoke dribbled from between them. It smelled sweet and camphoraceous, like cedar. Ajofia has arrived, the flute player announced. It will pay its respects. Ajofia swayed and softly bounced forward. Get away from me, I heard my auntie shout from the house. Leave your father, my Uncle Joey snapped. Iko, come over here, come now! When a big man who is titled dies in Igbalan, the big spirits come to see him off. Ajofia was deep Igbo culture, and it did not often come to see a man off. I did not get out of the way. Unheard of for a woman. I was not crying anymore. My face was itchy. That quickly, my tears had dried and left only salt and sorrow. I'd moved closer, and the man had begun playing his tune again. Ajofia was swaying to the melody, bouncing. The smell of smoke forest burning. It shivered, dust and dirt puffing from it. It was a higher spirit, a great honor for my father, who was inches from me dead. Ajofia blocked out the world behind it. I could not see my relatives in the light of the house or the men who had accompanied Ajofia in the night. I could only smell thick smoke and dirt and the dust. It shook at me. The breath of something. My eyes and throat stung. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I couldn't let go of Dad. Maybe it was the eagle's head bouncing against its chest. Were those eagle feathers on top, near where the smoke was dribbling? I reached over and grabbed my father's hand, stiff, cold. Everything in my body was repulsed. Still, I pulled off his ring. "You will not!" I screamed. "He's my father. This is his land." Its voice came from all around me, close to me, far from me, beside me, above me, below me, like smoke. It was sharp and harsh and hot. I heard it in Igbo, yet somehow I understood it completely. How could that be when I don't fluently speak it? Nai Ndakita. Those words slapped my soul. I stared at it full on, 1,000 possible actions flying through my mind. The sight of it made my eyes burn and twitch. Then I fled. When I returned to the house, the woman consoled me, while the men looked at me like I was the stupidest woman on earth. Ajofia stayed there dancing, the men who'd accompanied it chanting. I knew nothing about secret societies, but apparently my father had been in one. I didn't care. I didn't want to hear about any of it. I just wanted to go home. I told no one that Ajofia had spoken to me, of course. Who was I going to tell? My aunts and uncles and cousins, who were all mere fanatical Christians? They'd have forced me to spend the rest of my time in Nigeria shouting and shaking at some church or revival tent. I couldn't tell any of my few local friends, whom I rarely ever got to see in person either, who simply don't speak that kind of thing to any Nigerian. To most Nigerians, I was all wrong. I'm a 40-year-old woman, unmarried, own my own house, have no children, own a restaurant, and now my only living parent had died. And I'd stood in the way of Ajofia when it had come to honor my father's body and see him pass death into the spirit world. I wasn't going to find any answers or comfort here. Best to just stay quiet, try to enjoy some delicious food, being around relatives, and the vibe of the village. And it was all said and done, just go back home to Phoenix and put the incident behind me. 9 days later, I stepped out of the airport into the hot, dry Arizona air. "Ah, it feels so good," I said. It was nearly midnight, and no one was out on the curb with me, and that felt good too. I inhaled the air. A distant scent of creosote told me it must just have rained somewhere nearby. After nearly 24 hours of travel, breathing that air was like coming back to life. I paused for a moment, feeling Nigeria still on my back. The hulking figure of Ajofia popped into my mind yet again. It had been haunting me since that night. Ajofia, I muttered to myself and shook my head. Thousands and thousands of miles away. Thank goodness. The Arizona heat was a dry one, not heavy and humid. The ghosts and spirits of these lands had different histories and intents. Now that I had a moment, I checked my phone. No security alerts at my house. Good. A few minutes later, a red Mustang pulled up. I dumped my suitcase in the back and collapsed into the passenger seat. "How was the flight?" my boyfriend Tony asked. "Boring." "Good," he laughed. "Looks like you got some sleep, too." "The entire flight. In economy, that is a hell of a superpower." He was wrong. I could sleep through any international flight, even with the worst turbulence. This time, though, I didn't mention the fact that I'd had nightmares the entire flight where Jofia smothered me with his girth, where I kept waking up hearing the flute as if the guy playing it sat on the plane's wing. Tony didn't need to know that. We'd been dating for only 2 months. He had yet to tell me much about his family in Mississippi, and I hadn't told him about my family in Nigeria. I wasn't about to tell him about my confrontation with the big Igbo, misogynist monster of the dead. I'd been with Tony a month when I got the news of my father's passing. We'd been outside in a grocery store parking lot, our cars parked side by side as we leaned on his and looked up at the sky. It was a clear night, and we were gazing at the TV towers flashing on South Mountain, which was nice. We were laughing, then my phone buzzed. I answered it, listened to what was said, and then suddenly I was destroyed. My father had been with a group of friends at his condo in Phoenix smoking cigars and talking shit when he'd suddenly collapsed. A heart attack. Tony stayed with me that entire night. He'd even helped me make arrangements to transport my father's body to the morgue. It was a lot of emotional baggage for him to carry for a relationship that hadn't really gotten started yet. Tony took it in stride, though. "You need anything?" he asked when we pulled up to my house. "Just a shower," I said, getting out. "You sure you don't want me to stay with you tonight? This is Scottsdale. You're back to being the only black person in the neighborhood." I laughed hard, pulling my suitcase out of the back. It wasn't lying. In my cul-de-sac, I literally was the only black person living there. "You've got a flight in the morning," I said. "You need to rock that speech tomorrow. Don't worry about me. You did what I needed." He smiled. "Okay. Hey, this conference is happening right when you got home. I'll be here when you get back." I ran around his car, leaned in, and gave him a long kiss. He played at pulling me into the car with him, and I nearly let him. "When you get back," I said, drawing back and laughing. "Welcome home," he said. I watched him speed off. I glanced at my neighbor's house just in time to see a curtain close. I rolled my eyes. So nosy, always watching. "Whatever," I muttered, looking at my phone. I opened the app for my house robot and checked on Pikonu, my 5-year-old corgi. He was waiting for me at the door. I turned on all the lights, I checked the thermostat, and lowered it to 75. I had the stereo start playing some smooth jazz, switched on the diffuser so I'd enter the house to the smell of sweet tobacco. And lastly, I alerted my smart doorbell that I was about to enter the house so it didn't need to record, turned off the security alarm, and went inside. "Pikonu!" I shouted as I walked in. His name meant the equivalent of "pretty please." In Igbo, a good name for a friendly, loving dog. He shook his ass with delight. I laughed as he wiggled and jumped on me. He sniffed at my father's ring for a long time, and I wondered if he smelled my father on it. I shivered with a sting of grief. My father had bought Pikonu for me on my 35th birthday. I never told anyone what I wanted. That I wanted a corgi, or that I even wanted a dog. This was how well my father knew me. He wasn't a pet person. I hadn't grown up with pets, but I'd always wanted specifically a corgi. My father had found a breeder, paid it $2,000 and everything, just to see the look on your face right now, he said. My dog was a tangible manifestation of just how close I was to my father and how much he loved me. One of the managers of Chief Jollof had offered to not only babysit Bokonu while I was in Nigeria, but drop him off for me when I returned, which obviously he'd done. Bikonu followed me to my room as I lugged my suitcase up the flight of stairs. "Ah, it's good to be home," I said, dumping it on my bedroom floor. I shoved my dirty airport clothes and fell onto the bed, where I promptly fell asleep for 3 hours. I was adrift, deep in the cosmos. Distant stars around me shined with cold, dead light, so very cold. As I floated along in the darkness, I knew I was dying. My heartbeat was slowing. I was slipping, dissolving. I couldn't remember the warmth of earth. I moaned deep in my chest. The vibration broke the ice that had formed around me. I stirred, moaning again, louder. My body was sluggish. I couldn't get up. I opened my eyes, shivering. It was freezing. I could practically see my breath. "What the fuck?" I muttered, sitting up. I glanced out the window and gasped, adrenaline flooding my body. My hand shook as I grabbed my phone. With a swipe and 2 clicks, I turned on the security light I had set up on this side of the house. Outside, the lights lit up the tree that for a moment had looked like. I shook my head. "Ugh, stop it," I muttered, rubbing my cold hands together. Bikonu was in his hidey hole across the room, probably shivering too. "Biko, babe," I called. I heard him snuffle and then poke his head out. "Come here, sweetie." He rushed over and threw his furry, sable body on my lap. I sighed at the warmth. "What the hell is going on?" he said. It was so cold that I was dreaming of dying. I grabbed my phone again and checked the thermostat. The AC was at 60 degrees with the fan on high. "What the hell? How did this happen?" Bikonu flinched at the pitch of my voice, but he stayed on my lap. Poor boy was that cold. I switched on the heat and we sat there for the next 20 minutes as the room warmed back up. I took a shower, made myself some curry rice and shrimp, and cooked a chicken breast for Bikonu. By the time I sat down to eat, I felt better, and then I remembered that I couldn't call up my dad to tell him about this, and the despair hit me yet again. I crawled back into bed around 2 a.m., despite my jet lag. Travel itself was exhausting. Most people only pay attention to the internal spinning clock, but I've always felt jet lag is a combination of time and space displacement. There's something that traveling across giant swaths of Earth in a short period of time does to you. As I lay there trying to fall asleep, I was thinking about Ajolfia, Masquerade, my father, how alone I felt, and how weird life had become. I considered calling Tony, but decided against it. He would be preparing for his trip and his presentation. Let me have some self-control and not interrupt that. I kept looking out the window. The light was still on, but the image of Ajolfia right at my window, shaking, shuddering, focused on me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I sat up. I'd officially freaked myself out. Again, I considered calling Tony, but I didn't. Instead, I grabbed my phone to look at the security camera in the front door. It was something I did every night right before bed. Seeing nothing there always assured me. I'd curl up in my bed and sigh with relief as I put my phone down for the night. I even did this when I was in Nigeria. All was well. The banal image of the path to the front door told me. I clicked open it at, maximize the image, and nearly shrieked. The image flickered and, just for a moment, it went black and white and then turned back to color with a weird click. And there was something on the path. A shadow? Too far away to tell. Then suddenly it was gone. I stared at the window on my phone. Nothing out of the ordinary now, like it had never been there. But it had been there. Maybe? I groaned. I tried to go back to sleep after that, but 3 hours later I still couldn't manage it. Every little sound in my house brought me back to what I'd seen at the front door. I had motion detectors out there in the living room in my upstairs hallway. They'd pick up anything and loudly announce that someone was at the door. Once in a while, even a tiny moth fluttering in just the right spot would set it off. They had said nothing when I saw what I saw. Get a grip, I thought. Just then, Bigonu, who had been sleeping on my feet, got up and plopped himself beside my head. I smiled, relaxing. A few minutes later, I finally fell asleep. Tony called me in the morning on his way to the airport. I felt like I was talking to him through a mixture of mud and honey. I'd been so deep in jet-lag heavy sleep. "Sorry," was the first thing he said. "It's fine," I said. I glanced at the window. It was light outside. "What time's it?" "7. I rolled onto my side. Bikonu was sprawled out, taking up the entire half of the bed. I laughed. "Glad I took the day off," I said into the phone. "You ready for your talk?" "I don't know." "Well, ready or not, here I come," he said. "Yeah, you're gonna crush it, Tony." Homebody, my house robot, rolled up to the bed. It's the size of a small dog and covered in sensors and cameras with a touchscreen for a head. It always came rushing up to me when I was getting a phone call. Someone was video calling me from a Nigerian phone number. I frowned. "Hey, I have to go," he said. "Call me when you get to New York if you can. If you can't, call me after." "Will do. Get some more sleep, like my grandma would say." "Who knows what you brought home with you? That needs to settle in too." "What?" But he'd already hung up. I touched Homebody's face screen. However, the call had been ringing for too long, and I was too late. I checked the number, didn't recognize it. A notification popped up on both my phone and the house robot screen. "Someone is detected at your front door," one of my speakers announced, but when I checked the door camera, nothing. "Ugh, fuck this," I said. I got up, but then paused and instead went back to bed. Whoever it was could wait. When I woke up, it was hours later. Jet lag was a beast. Tony had called twice. I immediately called him back. His talk had gone okay. "Nothing to write home about," he said. He sounded disappointed, and I was glad he wasn't pissed at me for not immediately answering. Yet, when I got off the phone, I thought, I don't like him very much. Where did that come from? I pushed that thought away. I'm not dealing with that now. I dressed and went to the grocery store where I bought a bunch of ingredients for a feast. I was going to make curried shrimp rice, fried plantain, jollof rice, fresh stew, sauteed portobello mushrooms, and savory chicken. As I walked through the parking lot to my car, pushing my cart, I could already imagine it being done and sitting down with a heaping bowl of it as I watched a bunch of episodes of something not too deep on Netflix, while Bikonu slept on the rug. But then my father's face flashed in my mind, lying in his casket among the trampled flowers. Fresh grief slammed into me so hard that I stumbled. I stood there beside my car, grasping my car. I was in Nigeria again. The soft sound of my auntie crying, the sad faces of my uncles, my cousins, just staring and staring at my father. And a Jolfian swaying, shimmying toward me, its black, dried, crackling raffia, the clicking cowries, the pelts of dead rabbits and grass cutters, and the smoke. I whimpered, riding the wave of sorrow, suddenly unable to breathe. My phone buzzed. It was telling me someone was at my front door again, but when I checked the camera, there was no one there. "Geez, stop glitching," I muttered, then checked the house alarm. It was armed and Homebody was patrolling. It showed Bikonu asleep on my bed upstairs. He didn't seem to have heard anything. I shook my head, forced myself to take a deep breath, and started loading the groceries into my car. I blasted some sigilcore rap music, which I always find soothing, don't ask me why, on the drive home, and by the time I parked my car in my garage, I felt a little better. I brought out my phone to turn on the lights, but the app said, "Your smart plug is offline. Please connect to Wi-Fi." I checked my router's app on my phone. It was down. Checked if there was an internet outage. There wasn't. I paused, pressing my fist to my face. "Fuck," I hissed. I took a deep breath and pushed myself to get out of the car. "Entering a dark home is normal," I whispered. "Pico no," I called, opening the door. I was carrying too much to switch on the light. I listened. I didn't hear his nails on the hardwood. Thoughts of strangers, monsters, and masquerades in the dark tried to crowd my mind. I paused. "Is someone upstairs?" "Picono, baby, come down." I dumped my groceries on the floor and flipped a light switch. There he was, rushing from the living room. I glanced at the stairs. "Homebody," I called, "come to me." The house robot was bumping down the stairs. Ah, that's what I heard up there. It couldn't transmit images or alerts unless it was on Wi-Fi, but it could still obey orders if it could hear you. It stopped 3 feet away and made a friendly boop sound. "What can I do for you?" it asked. "Play Death's Revenge by Three Fools, slowed version." I put the groceries away as the dark, acidic beats filled my home. A soft reboot got the Wi-Fi back, and as soon as it came on, that strange phone number called again. I didn't answer it. Instead, I put WhatsApp on D&D. Then I put my whole phone on D&D and home booting, too, for good measure. "Shut up for a while, all of you," I grumbled. I spent the next 3 hours cooking, then ate wash smell of curry and onions from my fro and fell into bed. The restaurant was fine while I was away. I'd been gone for 2 weeks, but the managers, Aladipo and Okipo, were brilliant business people who prided themselves on keeping everything in perfect order. "You didn't need to come in today," Okipo said, giving me a tight hug. "I know," I said, looking over the restaurant. "The dog was a joy, by the way." "I'm glad," he said, pressing my face into his shoulder. "Oh man, I missed you guys, plus work helps." Okipo nodded. "It's your father's space." I later started weeping, but instead I stepped back, smiled, and said, "Exactly." There was a framed photo of my father behind the host podium in the front. It was the first thing you saw when you entered. The restaurant was at near full capacity, the people at the tables ranging from many parts of Diaspora, with a few of Phoenix's more adventurous white people. The place was clean, smelled wonderful, and was filled with happy faces. I stayed the entire day, working the front, welcoming customers. I told everyone I was okay and working through it and blah blah blah. When I couldn't hold it on in anymore, I escaped to the small office in the back, shut the door behind me. When I looked up, I saw my father's worn-out leather chair behind his wooden desk. The stacks of papers he always kept on it were gone, and the room didn't even smell like him anymore. I sank down into a crouch, holding my head. The door opened, hitting me on the butt. I quickly stood up. "Ah! Polo." "Akolo!" Okipo said, entering. "Sorry, I just need to get—" "It's fine," I said quickly, wiping my face. "Are you okay?" I shrugged. "We miss him here so much, too," he said. "When you were gone, me, Oladipo, we felt lost. Your father guided everything, like chiefing his chiefdom." He gave me a tight hug, and we stood there for a while. He smelled good, even if his cologne was mixed with the smell of curry and onions from checking on how things were going in the kitchen. I sighed, more tears coming. I held up my hand. "I took this." I stepped back from him and showed him my father's ring, his eyes widening. "Janik, you took that?" "I did." It was an odd moment, but I just wanted it with me. Is that weird? That's his society ring. What? He looked at me for several moments, pinching his beard. What do you mean? I said. That's not for you to know. I groaned and rolled my eyes. Ugh. Miss me with that traditional Igbo man crap. Okay, said chuckling. She's gone beyond anyway. Your father wasn't just titled, he was in a society too. I cocked my head. One of those secret traditional societies? He nodded. I leaned against the back of the office doorway, my arms across my chest. I guess I can imagine that. I held up my hand, looking at the ring on my thumb. I'm actually glad I took it. You need to take that thing back. Back where? Asikanese. Haha, funny. I'm not joking, he said, looking hard at me. Get a ticket tonight and take that back. You can't even mail it. You have to take it there yourself. It's not yours. His words made me shiver, but I rolled my eyes. My God, stop being so dramatic. Come on. I know a ticket's expensive. I mean, it would be. Not enough. Are you serious? I shouted. I'm not flying all the way back there, going through all that just to what? Put it in my father's grave? The fuck are you even saying? I didn't want to be, but I was shaking with rage, tears welling in my eyes. Not in his grave, you have to give it back to his society, Colo, the Kiko insisted. Okay, enough. Stop it. I snapped, holding up a hand. A tear dribbled down my cheek. Jesus, I breathed. Closed my eyes. Sight of my father's fresh grave, the jet bridge to an airplane, and just being back there again in my mind all at the same time. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Colo, I know it sounds crazy, but please, just stop. He looked like he was going to say more, but then put up his hands, shook his head, and began to leave the room. He stopped and turned to me. You have lost your father is terrible, but your pain, your grief, does not come before. He made a motion with his hand. There was no word for them, but I knew what he spoke of, who he spoke of. You may be Igbo and have a Nigerian passport, but you're very American, selfish, and individualistic. He laughed to himself. You can't understand what that means. But I am here telling you. Take it back. Fuck off, I hissed. He looked at me with disgust, kissed his teeth, muttered something in Igbo as he left. Then he said it again. Take it back. On the drive home, I sped down the highway. It was a 10-minute drive, and there was rarely much traffic, so it was a drive I usually enjoyed. This day, I just stared ahead and barely heard the music that played. I was about a third of the way home when the phone began to screech. Ah, come on, not today. I knew what it said, but I glanced at the message anyway. National Weather Service, dust storm warning for your area. Pull aside, stay alive. Every Arizonan was familiar with these alerts. Pull over when it gets bad, turn off your lights, keep your foot on the brake, and so on. The wall of dust was just ahead of me, no chance to even get off the highway. Sometimes these dust storms move fast. This was one of those. I pulled over onto the shoulder just before it hit, as the dust began to softly pelt my car. I slowly drove as far off the road as I could without getting stuck. Others around me did the same, then in moments it went from sunset to the middle of the night. This was a bad one. I thought about my mother for a moment. The storm that had picked up and flipped her car was one of water, not dust. I wondered if she'd hated these too, though. Storms were unpredictable, and they quickly changed everything from calm to chaos. Mommy, please protect me. The car gently rocked as the storm showered and pelted it with dust. It wasn't my first time being caught in such a storm. You just wait it out and get a car wash the next day. This was the desert. The desert's gonna desert. That said, sitting through a dust storm always felt a little catastrophic and mildly hopeless. I knew that if I were to foolishly step outside the car, I'd be doomed, and this part of the world was only going to get hotter and dusty no matter how much I loved it. A couple of decades from now, it might be uninhabitable. As the storm raged, I grew restless and looked at the ring on my thumb. I ran my fingertip over the frowning eagle face. Dad, I miss you. I picked up my cell phone and checked on the house. I checked the weather in the area. The dust would reach my house any minute if it already hadn't. The power was still on and the internet was still working. Homebody's battery was low, and it was heading back to its charger. From what I could see as it made its way to the charging pad beside my bed, everything was fine in my bedroom. I turned on the camera downstairs. It was very dark, a combination of dusk and dust, but I could still see the camera's night vision. Ikonu was sitting right beside the camera, practically on it. I frowned. He was breathing so heavily that I could hear it through the camera and whimpering. Why was he whimpering? I leaned closer to the phone. Ikonu was looking at something, but it was too dark and the camera's night vision didn't extend that far. Hey! Is someone there? I shouted through the camera. Ikonu jumped, startled by my voice. Then he pressed closer to the camera. There was a snuffling sound and more of his whimpering. It's okay, baby, he said. I looked up for a moment and saw the storm was still raging. I stared back at the camera. Ikonu was shaking. Shh, calm down, sweetie. I exited the app and switched to the house robot's view. It was upstairs and only had 2% charge. Shit. I asked it to go downstairs, but as it started leaving my room, the image turned off and said offline. Oh, come on! I screamed. I was sweating now. I went back to the security camera. Ikonu was whining again. Something was definitely in my house, and he was clearly terrified of it. I checked the house alarm, the outside cameras, the upstairs camera. I turned on all the lights. I switched back to the downstairs camera. There was Ikonu still cowering. I could only see his furry side as he crouched practically on top of the camera. Then I heard something. A voice? There was more noise as the arriving dust storm began to pelt the house. The same storm was still raging around me. I pressed my hands to my wet face, now in total helpless panic. Tears streamed from my eyes. Dad, I said through my hands pressed to my face. Help me. If anything happened to Ikonu, I would break. After a while, I just went into a sort of mental paralysis, holding my head and rocking forward and backward, tears dribbling down my face. Come on, I whimpered. Don't know what this is. Don't hurt him. Don't take him, please. 15 minutes later, the storm finally began to lift. I turned on my car and sped off as quickly as I could, leaving a wake of dust as I drove. I pulled into my garage and jumped out. I hesitated only for a moment, choosing to first grab the baseball bat I kept beside the door. I also kept two in the house, one upstairs and one downstairs. Grasping the baseball bat, I turned the doorknob, listening with every part of my body. The alarm started counting down. After 30 seconds, it sounded. Let it keep screaming. I called my dog. Ikonu! Nothing, I moaned, holding up the bat. I took a few more steps down the hallway, blinking, tears from my eyes. Who the fuck is in here? I said. Show yourself! Tappity-tappity-tap, I heard. Something was running toward me. Ikonu came around the corner. The sight of him was such a relief that I felt dizzy for a moment. Oh, thank goodness! I knelt, put the bat down, and rubbed his soft head as he pushed himself against me. I wiped my face with my hands. Oh, thank goodness, oh my God, thank goodness. I turned off the alarm and answered my phone to tell my service not to send the police, but kept the bat with me. I checked the entire house. relaxing more and more as I found nothing. 20 minutes later, I stood in the middle of the living room, my hands on my hips, the bat resting against the chair, wondering what the hell had happened. Bigonu seemed fine now. There was no sign that anyone had been in my home. Fuck it all, I hissed. I was relieved, but I was starting to get angry too. I kicked off my shoes, took off my socks, and plopped onto the couch and stared across the room at the camera on the floor. That Bigonu had cowered beside me. What had been his problem? Dust storm? He was used to those. Things had been too weird since I'd gotten home. I'd have called my father and told him all about it, and he would have said something like, "For the 10th time, I beg, get rid of that internet stuff. The government probably knows how often you pick your nose." I got up and was about to head to the kitchen to get something to eat when I stepped on something hard. I raised my foot. What the? I picked it up. A cowrie shell. I held it to my face. I had jewelry with them. I kept them in most of my jacket pockets. When I got anxious, they were nice to fiddle with. And almost every corner of my house had a cowrie shell, or 3 occupying it. It was my own ritual. Bigonu was never interested in them. Why was this one in the middle of the living room floor? I narrowed my eyes and looked around. I went to the kitchen, putting it in my pocket. I squeezed it hard between my fingers. There was a satisfying crack, and then it crumbled. Tony called me an hour later, and we talked well into the night, like 2 teens. Okay, maybe I actually did like him. I told him all about the dust storm. He'd still been in the air an hour from landing when it happened. By the time I got off the phone, it was past midnight. Everything that had happened earlier seemed so far away. I took a shower and went to bed. Someone is at your front door. My eyes shot open. It was 3:48 a.m. I sat up and grabbed my phone. I clicked open the camera. I nearly dropped my phone when Homebody slowly rolled toward me from across the room, showing me the image from the front door camera. The speaker suddenly started saying, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again." That Simon Garfunkel song I've been thinking about at my father's wake keeping. I looked from my phone to the larger image of the same thing on the face of the house robot. In the darkness, it shimmied and shook out clouds of dust. Had it been here for the storm? Had it caused the storm? It stood nearly as tall as the palm tree near the road. Suddenly, the music got cranked to max volume, and the song filled the house. "What do you want?" I shouted. I got up shaky, but also so fed up that I didn't care anymore. I'd had enough. All the signs were there. I knew they were, especially after Okigbo said what he said. I knew what he was talking about. I'm Nigerian, American-born and raised here, but I knew. No matter how dumb I played, I pressed my fingertips to my temples. "Dad," I whispered. Technology is technology. It is capable of being affected and manipulated by it. The mysterious is any object. Tech runs on electricity, radio waves, energy. Everything is energy, right? That's where the connection is. Dogs can see and sense those things that the human eye cannot. I'd known since I'd gotten back to the States I wasn't alone. There was never been time when I went to Nigeria, to my parents' ancestral lands, and returned the same person as I had been when I left. When you hang on like that, sometimes things hang on to you. I was a fool to not leave my father to his homegoing of Ajofia. I was even more of a fool to look upon Ajofia, woman or not. You do not do that. You step away, you let go. Instead, I took the ring because I couldn't let go. You're supposed to let go. For your own sake, for everyone's sake. There are consequences when you don't. "Give it back," Ajofia had demanded me. That night, in a sickening... It spoke in a voice that cut sharp and harsh and hot. "It is not yours," says Wyatt. Okiko, telling me to take it back to Nigeria. This angered me so much. He never used Ajofia's words. "It is not yours." The ring was heavy and scratchy on my thumb. I didn't take it off, though. Instead, I opened the door. Homebody positioned itself in the center of the living room, playing the Simon Garfunkel song. I'd listened to that song over and over again on the plane back from Nigeria. It had just gotten under my skin for some reason. I looked back. Ikono was standing there, looking up at me. He whined softly. "Ikono, don't follow me." I sighed. I went outside. It wasn't just my father out there. I stepped over the threshold of my front door, and immediately I could smell its smoke. My eyes began to water. "Oh," I whispered. My legs felt weak. She looked different, much taller, shimmering, but her eyes and smile were the same. She was wearing a dress made of pink-orange coral beads. They clicked and clacked as she walked toward me. I stopped on the steps of my house, and she stopped on the street. We stood looking at each other. There seemed to be dust in the air because I couldn't quite see her. Behind her stood my father, and he stood directly in front of Ajofia. And Ajofia was taller, too. Much taller. Bigger. It stood in the street, and it wasn't dust that was making it hard to see. It was smoke. "Mommy?" I whispered. I could feel my child self as I spoke the word. It was all I'd ever called her when she was alive. She had passed when I was so young. She seemed to be saying something, but I couldn't hear it. And as I stood there in front of my home in the hot night, not a car on the road, my mother shook her head in what looked like frustration, then turned and started to walk away. She walked toward Ajofia and kept going. I clenched my fist tightly, but this time I didn't move. My father did the same, though he did not bother trying to speak. I couldn't see his face at all. I held myself there. I let them go. I did not insist. I did not follow, even as they left me alone in this world. Ajofia, it remained. "Excuse me. What are you doing?" I blinked, confused. I was there. Then this voice brought me here. I swayed on my feet. Kate, who lived 2 houses away, was striding down her driveway. She wrapped herself in a jacket, despite the fact that it was probably well over 100 degrees outside. "What is that?" she shouted. "Is this some kind of a performance art?" "Looks like it." This was Candy, my next-door neighbor. "Damn thing is stinking up the entire neighborhood. At least put it out." "Oh, dear God, why are you both even awake?" I asked. I glanced at Ajofia, who was still there, standing there in the road, quiet, unmoving. I'd just seen both of my parents who'd passed on. The last thing I needed was to deal with my neighbors. "Do you have a permit?" "You don't even have an audience to see it," Kate said. She rubbed her face. Her shoulder-length brown hair was half out of its ponytail. The woman was barely awake. "Fuck that! Just get it out of here!" Candy shouted. She wore a long Arizona Coyotes night shirt and yellow Nikes, no socks. A light went on in the upstairs window of the house across the street. "This isn't... Just calm down, man." I wrung my hands, trying to force my mind to manage the ridiculous situation. "I don't..." But I was out of breath. I glanced at Ajofia again. These women didn't even bat an eye at it. How? How were they not terrified? How are their eyes not stinging from the smoke? How are they not coughing? "Kono, come on," Candy said. "It's not even Halloween." "We should totally call the police." "Both of you just shut the fuck up," I shouted at them. "This is none of your business." "Oh, yes, it is," Kate said. "We live here. We..." I was looking at the women, but I saw Ajofia with my peripheral vision. It rose up and bounced down, creating a puff of smoke, dust, and dirt. Everything grew still. Kate and Candy moaned, backing away, finally seeing Ajofia for what it was. They whimpered with dread and scurried away and then rushed into their homes. I watched them go, marveling at the absurd meeting of my 2 worlds. I turned to the Jofia just in time for a puff of its smoke to hit me in the face. I coughed hard, my eyes filling with tears as I understood with stark clarity that both of my parents were gone. I gasped, processing it. Finally, world around me swam. I shut my eyes, catching my breath. How are you here? I breathed in a shaky voice. I slowly opened my eyes. It didn't move. Aren't you bound to the land? The men of the society? It said nothing. Menacing, stinking of smoke, rotten animals, black raffia, eagle feathers, a custodian of death, were across the seas. I clasped my hands together. I scratched my thumb, looking down at my father's ring. Jofia still didn't move. I glanced toward my neighbors' homes. Several of them were peeking through their windows at me, at us. This was all being witnessed by them. They could see a Jofia, these white people of Scottsdale, Arizona. Had such a thing ever happened? What did they see? What dreams would they have this night? How would they be changed? I looked at my father's ring on my thumb, running a finger over the beak of the eagle. What did it mean? Where was it from? Had my mother known? I would never know any of these things. What I did know was that my parents had come to convince me, so I took it off. And the Jofia finally moved. It lengthened its girth, narrowing, reaching higher than the tall, lean palm trees. "Fuck you!" I shouted as I threw the ring at it. The ring flew at its force. A black raffia and a tendril or something reached out and snatched it from the air. It disappeared back into its bulk. "What the fuck?" I whispered. Another tendril shot out from it again, hitting me in the arm. Whatever it was clamped down hard and then withdrew. I shrieked, stumbling back, my hand instinctively grasping my arm where I'd been struck. Then I peeked under my hand, and I saw an oval-shaped wound about the size of a penny was welling up with blood. A Jofia began to dance, bouncing away from me now, down the street. As it moved, it became more and more insubstantial. Then it was sinking into the concrete, its raffia becoming wet, and then oozing and melting into it. Smoke dribbled and gathered, and water-like pools around a Jofia as it sank back to wherever it came from. The dead animals hanging from it liquefied, drained, and dried up. The cowrie shells fell off and tumbled to the ground like tiny crabs, scattering and disappearing like flies. And finally, the eagle feathers blew away in the hot breeze. All that was left was a single brown and white eagle feather. After staring at the spot for several minutes, wincing with pain and still holding my arm, I approached the place where a Jofia had disappeared. I stood a moment looking at the feather, then bent down and picked it up. The blood from my wound dribbled down my wrist. I rushed inside where Bikonu was waiting for me. I breathed a sigh of relief as I passed the threshold of my house. I was about to use my unwounded shoulder to close the door and go disinfect my arm, but I stopped. What am I doing? I thought. I threw the feather back outside, then I shut the door, locked it, and used my phone to activate all of my alarms and security lights. Well, boys and girls, it's about that time again. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight. It was my pleasure hanging out with and hopefully entertaining you. Thank you to all my friends out there wherever you may be listening Beyond The Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time and I can't wait to do it again sometime soon, hopefully before next weekend. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world better, and together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there really is no us. Night-night, love and light, take care of my games. I hope you have a wonderful, spectacular, and not too stressful week. Please, if you have the means, ability, initiative, if you believe in what I'm doing here, just plain enjoy hanging out with me on the airwaves. please consider slinging or flinging some green my way. It would really help me keep this mothership afloat. Places you can donate are P.O. Box 663, Bayford, Colorado 81122, Cash App, $TessaTNT, PayPal at TessaTNT, and Venmo at Tessa-Thomas-Peterson. Let me know what you guys think about the news portion. Should we keep that once a week sort of daily? Should we try to do that in the middle of the week? I don't know if you liked or appreciated that, but kind of felt like my top 4, Brazil, USA, and Germany, and the UK would appreciate that, and India and a couple other places got in there too. But yeah, if something does come up that I see that needs to be heard, I will share it with you.